14 playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We are all back together again. 365 Sports. Paul is back from his trip to Nashville, Tennessee for a brother-in-law wedding with stories that we'll hear at some point. Craig Smoak in studio, obviously with us as well, and so am I, David Smoak. Thank you for your time today. A couple of notes. We're gonna put the link up at some point in the chat room for the college football pick'em. If you have not yet been able to do that, then we'll have that for you here momentarily. Also today, Brett McMurphy, Andrew Monaco, voice of A&M. They play at Notre Dame. And Greg Davis, former Texas. He was at Iowa, Tulane, offensive coordinator during their great run under Mac Brown. He will join us today to kind of critique the college football quarterbacks that he has seen up until this time. And Craig, with week number 2 of the Big 12 Mojo rankings. We'll have that today. And our college football picks, we'll do that too. Garrett Ross and Brandon Rowe and Andrew Valade are in the studio, and we appreciate your time. Paul, any quick summary with Nashville? Yeah, it's a wedding. It's a football season wedding. It should be against the law, but they're basketball fans.
Rami is. I mean, Bree is now by marriage. She did go to that game in Lawrence with us, but it was a great wedding. It was a beautiful wedding. It was a lot of fun. I will say though that I made it 4 hours before Amanda got mad at me for looking at my phone, and I will let you guess what happened in hour number 4 that made me not able to put it down.
She grabbed it from you.
No.
Oh.
Like what game was going on? Like what big event that would have given me joy?
Florida.
Yeah. Florida and USF.
Yeah.
Happened, and I got in trouble because I was like, me and a couple of the other guys at the wedding were college football fans. We were like, oh my God. And then they're all, you must be thrilled. And I was like, I mean, yes, but no, it's weird. It's all these feelings, but it was very interesting. I was very happy for Alex Golish and USF. I was also very happy that Florida got to join the club of losing to USF, which Florida State did many years ago under Jim Leavitt. So that's the only time I got in trouble. But it was hard because I had to watch the back half of SMU and Baylor just via game tracker, which is no one should live that way.
No, especially that game.
I know.
That could have gotten all confused. By the way, you speaking of USF, excuse me. 3 different national writers, Brett McMurphy, Brandon Marcello, Ross Dellinger, all doing stories about USF and also Alex Golish and the commitment and what he's done with the Bulls after their great start wins against Boise State and also against Florida. And Miami, of course, is coming up next. Craig Smoak will have his Mojo rankings today. We have that at 4:30. Craig kind of explained to everybody, at least now, so kind of tease them of what the Mojo rankings are compared to anything else, power rankings or whatever.
I mean, this is my own personal spin on power rankings. I think power rankings are pretty self-explanatory, although there's people who have different versions of how they do their power rankings and different things they take into account, but ultimately a power rankings, just a stacking of teams that you think no matter what their record is or what have you, that they'd be the second best team in whatever pool of teams you're talking about. Even if they're 0-2, they'd still be better than this team. And I'm not really looking at it like that. I'm taking into account the power ranking aspect of it, but also your resume, what you've actually done, and also the state of your program. Mm-hmm. So if you have a coach that's on the hot seat, then that's going to dock you points. If you've got a coach that's just signed a brand new 10-year deal, then that's a bonus point. If your recruiting's in the Esser, then that'll probably cost you some points. Like it's about the whole package, because I think power rankings are great if you're just trying to gamble on stuff. Like that's a way to just pick a winner. And it's a way to rank who you think is the best. But I think to get the full feel, because sometimes you can be 2-0 and not feel as good as that team that's 1-1. And so that's what I'm kind of trying to do, is put it in order of how I think the Big 12 actually feels, looks, and is playing at the moment. So it's the total package. It's basically a power ranking with my twist on it. So it's the Mojo rankings, and that we'll have for you later on today.
Well, we'll do that at 4:30 today. We'll also have 5 games that we pick, college football games that we pick at around 5:40 today. Paul with the top 5 back after a couple of days off. So here is the Big 12 schedule for this weekend. And then we have some audio from Dion Sanders and also Kenny Dillingham and also much more. There are 2 games on Friday. Houston and Colorado getting a lot of attention. K-State, Arizona, and Brent Brennan. You know, a lot of didn't know how this season would turn out. It's early, but they're off to a 2-0 start. And obviously the Chris Kleiman, K-State, what in the hell's going on? With what's going on with them. We've tried to break that down, dissect that a little bit. So those are a couple of really good games and conference games that we are now seeing as well. Not all of them, but at least to start us and kick us off on Friday night.
If you had told me that K-State would be in full-on panic mode going into the Arizona game, I would have told you were nuts. I would have thought that, like, okay, yeah, they lost to Iowa State and Ireland, but yeah, I mean, that's going to be a tight game. But I mean, I'm starting to think like the Madden curse or the Sports Illustrated curse, the curse of the leprechaun loser is very real, because they don't look like a Chris Kleiman coach team.
No, it's not that they don't look right. Right?
They don't look right.
We saw what happened to Florida State.
Yeah, Chris Kleiman's teams are like violent. They're really tough at the point of attack. They're pretty fundamentally sound. Yeah, he takes chances as a coach, but that's kind of modern coaching. But to lose to, like, they lost to Army and they got pushed around physically by Army, which, you know, that happens because that's the style of football they play. But losing to Army, almost losing, you know, to an FCS school the week before, like, this is not a team that is in any way connected. And you just wonder what's going on to cause all that.
Well, I think it's a couple pretty interesting games. Obviously, K-State and Arizona is not a conference game because that was a non-con scheduling thing. So we had that last year. We had an example of that with the ACC last week. I think it was NC State and Virginia was the game where it was a non-con game. So that's the case here with K-State and Arizona. But Arizona, I think, looked at as the favorite in this game, which is kind of crazy when you think about just the entire talk of the offseason. Brent Brennan's team has played really well, very efficient, very dominant through their first couple of games against inferior competition. But like with Texas Tech or anybody else who's played teams you're supposed to beat badly, you beat them badly, you did your job. And that's what Arizona's done. Noah Fafita looks good and confident. I think that there's just a lot of maybe just unknowns about Arizona when it comes to like the overall talk about them. So I think we'll learn a lot on Friday night, and they have a chance to make a big statement, because even though K-State's reeling, to get a win like that would be a huge deal for the Wildcats. And I think a lot of places that I've seen, they're favored. I mean, they're at home as well. They've played better. K-State's clearly got some issues that are not just on the field, and I'm not saying that the program's in danger or anything like that, but it's just, I mean, y'all know it's just weird right now. So
yeah, it doesn't look right.
It's weird at the same time for me, however, is I'm still thinking like this is a game that K-State wins. And I don't know why I feel that way, but it's almost like it's too obvious that they're going to struggle and lose again and go 1-3. I just have a hard time picturing that. So, yeah, I'm kind of tossing and turning over that particular result. And similarly with Houston and Colorado. Now, that is a conference game. Willie Fritz and company have a strong quarterback who's not really had to do a whole lot at this point. They've got Dean Connors in the backfield, who made a lot of noise last week. They've just been kind of quiet and almost vanilla in a way. And we can actually bring Garrett Ross on because he covers Houston, but I feel like they haven't really fully flexed their wings offensively. And I don't know how much they can spread them out anyways, but I don't feel like we've seen Houston have to really show too much like they will against Colorado on Friday night. And Colorado, meanwhile, I mean, they don't know who the hell they are because they can't figure out who the starting quarterback is. Now, it's probably going to be Ryan Staub, the third stringer, even though Dion pushed back on reports about that. But if you talk to people who cover them, watch them, even if he's named the starter for this game, that does not quiet the conversation about who's going to be the quarterback in every game the rest of the way. And they are not as good in certain areas as they were last year. Obviously, when you lose a Heisman winner and an NFL quarterback, but it's not just those positions. They're not as good defensively. They're still not running the ball. So I think Houston's got a hell of a shot to knock off Colorado on Friday night. But I think there's still just a lot of unknown about them. And Garrett, do you have a chance to pop on? Just give your initial impressions on Willie Fritz and company kind of heading into this week.
I mean, I think Willie Fritz has done an excellent job with this team. I think going into the portal, getting Connors to come over from Rice was really crucial to what they've been able to do. I think you can make an argument that Tanner Koziel coming over was probably the best person they got in the portal to go along with Connor Wigman. And the defense, to me, is still what carries this team. Is was the leading point there. They're super aggressive. They force a lot of turnovers. But I think Houston itself is still coming to its own offensively. I think they need to have more of an option on receiving. The thing that catches or kind of hinders me on them is they don't have any true deep threat. And once they finally start establishing that and get Connor Wigman some more opportunities to stretch the field, they're going to be really dangerous, man.
Are you picking them or Colorado this week?
I'm taking Houston.
You are? Okay.
I think that being
Houston
at home, I know the Dion factor. I know Colorado, if you want to break it down, probably has more upper echelon talent. But I think Houston, that blue collar mentality and just the way things are going right now, I like them to get it done. Now it's going to be close, but I think they get it done in a close matchup.
Okay, all right, thank you, Garrett, Paul, Craig.
I agree with Garrett on I'll pick the team without a quarterback controversy. Like that's where I am. I think that you bring both QBs to media days, and by the third game you're not starting either of them. They've got maybe more problems than they realize. They're not quite as good at things, which is one of the reasons, when I looked at this season and talked about it a lot in the offseason, I thought they were going to need to have a really, really improved actual running game.
Yep.
Because Shadur Sanders and for all the criticisms of Shadur, very few of them were on the field in what he did.
No, he was very productive.
Yeah,
threw for a ton of yards.
He had
hell of a receiving staff.
He had a sixth sense of how to make that offense move because it's the only thing he'd ever done, right? He knew it. And I think with the transition to new quarterbacks and all of that, they were going to have to get a running game that was going to help some people out. And so far, that's not happened.
No, it hasn't. Now, the other games on Saturday, none of them are conference games. The two on Friday are both Big 12 opponents playing each other. None of the games on Saturday are conference games. Obviously, there's a couple of those that are intriguing, Pitt at West Virginia and a few others. But those two games on Friday, and then we're not far away from turning the corner, and everything pretty much every weekend the rest of the way will be conference games.
Yeah, but remember, K-State Arizona is a non-conference game.
Yeah, it's
that does not count in the standings.
Not in the standings. For Arizona, they'll take the win and get off to 3-0 if they win. And of course, K-State, Lord knows they already have one Big 12 conference loss. They surely don't need to be staring at a third loss, but not a conference loss.
Yeah, and I'll tap the brakes just slightly on the schedule this weekend. No, it's not super sexy. No, there's not a bunch of big crossover matchups, but I think there are things that are image. Like, first of all, Baylor deserves a break after the first couple of weeks. Like, they've earned a Samford game to just kind of flex their muscles a little bit. So they'll get their little dip with that game, but I'm really intrigued by Texas Tech hosting Oregon State. I don't think Oregon State's that good of a football team, but I do think they're a big step up in competition compared to what Tech has played so far. So that's just another little barometer to see the Red Raiders just kind of do their thing, which they've been doing through these first couple of games with no problem whatsoever. So now I think they're playing a bit better team. And so we'll see what the Beavers can do, but they're 0-2 to start the season. And so I fully expect Tech to name their score when all is said and done, but I do think they'll at least have a little bit more fight back. So I'm interested to see that. backyard brawl. I mean, gosh, dang. I mean, it gets no bigger than that.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a huge game. And West Virginia, after last week, desperately needs that just to get Rich Rod back in the good graces and good vibes that we felt when it was just the offseason and everybody was 0-0. And you're like, hey, and I know not everybody was all on board and everybody, has their opinions on whether that was a good move or not ultimately, much like with Scott Frost in Orlando. But after losing to Ohio last week, I mean, the way to make up for that would be to go beat Pitt in Morgantown. Yeah. So that's a big game. Is there anyone
else that West Virginia could beat other than like Georgia? But
no.
But anyone else they could beat that the fan base would feel better about?
No. So this is a huge game, but they got a huge challenge in Eli Holstein. That sumbitch. I mean, he's a great thrower and he is a big time producer. And you saw when he went out last year how Pittsburgh just fell off the map basically. So I mean that SOB term kindly because it just spurts out because I'm so I guess impressed by what I've seen from Eli Holstein. So that's an endearing term, and that's going to be a huge challenge for Rich Rod. And then I'd say one more, Texas State, Arizona State. Last year that got dicey. It got super dicey, and then Dillingham and crew coming off that Mississippi State loss. You would think that they're going to be like bounce back mode, but Sam Leavitt hasn't been impressive through the first couple of games, even though he was like the poster child of the offseason for the Big 12 quarterbacks. He's been okay. There's still a lot to learn about Arizona State, and I think Texas State's going to really put them to the test. And how about a team that every once in a while in the most crucial situations forgets to cover the deep ball or has miscommunication or a lapse in judgment or whatever it may be like we saw last week and against Texas? You think Texas State's going to throw the ball around a little bit on that secondary and try to –
and GJ's fearless. I mean, you're exactly right. By the way, that Kansas State-Arizona game that started out as a 2.5-point line for K-State – it's now, in most cases, 1 or 1.5, and even in one Vegas, Arizona's a 1.5 point, a 0.5 half-point favorite. And then if you look at Houston and Colorado, pretty much around 4.5, 5.5, they're favored, the Cougars against Colorado. We're going to hear from Dillingham and Dion here in just a second.
Yeah. First of all, when it comes to Pitt this week and Eli Holstein, they also get to take on a team in West Virginia that is banged up already. They've already got
they lost Jaheim White.
They lost Jaheim White. They've lost other players for the season.
Jaden Bray.
Yeah, that's so right. They've got those are two big key contributors they're relying on to be there for the season that they don't have. And remember, this is a team that is chock full of new players. So finding those roles and establishing those roles is what this season is about for Rich Rod in West Virginia. And hopefully they can get some of that for them. They can get some of that rivalry magic where a lot of your problems wind up not mattering because the game just gets so intense and it's so focused in that, the mistakes kind of even out the rivalry games that don't make sense where it's like, this team is great against the run. This team runs well. And then
the emotions involved can make a guy that's not playing well play crazy and vice versa. Maybe somebody else tightens up a little bit. By the way, so that's just part of what we have coming up this weekend. Those 2 games on Friday, and then Craig mentioned 3 of them that are of intriguing interest on Saturday. Now, Kenny Dillingham, he says what he feels, and he could feel this. You could kind of see this even a few weeks ago about, making sure that you dot the I's and cross the T's and all the things you're supposed to do. Do you want to be practicing like a team that's going to be 5-7 or better? So here is Kenny Dillingham when asked about the ASU fans who have all of a sudden gotten locked in, and they're not happy.
Externally, I get it. That's everybody's job. Right, it's the nature of sports. Things are either great or they're horrible. There's no such thing as the middle. Or the same. We just talked about it. The key is the monotony, to fall in love with the monotony. Good, bad, you got to love the process and love the monotony of a college football season to get better every week. You can't be, I'm an emotional dude, but when I show up on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't have that when I'm assessing our football team. I'm assessing our team by what things can we get better at, and then you go out there and try to do it. And if you don't get better at it, then that's not good. If you get better at it, positive.
All right, so there's Kenny Dillingham with his feelings after the loss to Mississippi State that not many people saw coming.
I think that I think some people did because they just knew Starkville was going to be rabid on a Saturday night. You knew that if Arizona State didn't come with their A game, they could find themselves in trouble. And next thing you know, they were down 17-0 and they were in trouble. Now, to their credit, I think people are overreacting a little bit to the fact they lost because, yes, they got down early, but they came all the way back. They took the lead. They were like a minute away from winning the game. And then they have the big, pass play they give up a la last year against Texas. Just very similar kind of a feeling of the biggest bust at the wrong time that cost you a game. And so it's not as though they went in there and just got rolled over and dominated. But, Sam Leavitt wasn't good in a big test like that. I think they were overwhelmed by the Cowboys. It was funny. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures, and I don't know, I didn't look too much deeper into it, but I know that Mississippi State's social media at least commented on it, that there was these student trainers and stuff that were walking around with individual cowbells, just kind of ringing them during practice last week. And so in Mississippi State, whatever their version of Hypnotoad is from TCU years ago, they've got somebody making similar type videos, and they were showing the video of 5 trainers just cling, 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 and then compared it to the 50,000 that they actually played against. And it was that probably didn't help too much in the grand scheme of things.
It sounds like the brown noise when you're which I know, Smokey, you probably don't know that is, but I'll tell you in the break.
Is that extraneous noise?
That's the noise that makes you lose control of your functions. I
could understand why you call it brown.
It's so monotonous and loud and it's a headache. I saw a lot of people who ex-players who played in Starkville, opposing players, talking about the cowbells and the first time you experience it, and said there isn't a way to get ready for it because it's all they have, right? I mean, that's what they do.
It's like at Oklahoma State with the paddles.
Yeah,
I don't think you can have no 5 guys hitting the wall with paddles.
Yeah, ringing the paddle and ringing the bell in someone's ear during practice maybe it works.
Yeah,
maybe it does, but I don't think it did. And part of it was and again, that's another one I had to miss. But going back and looking at it, you could tell that when Mississippi State had the chance to close it out at the end of that game, or they felt this win that the coaching staff and the program really wanted. And I think Arizona State was kind of still a little bit flat-footed.
Well,
after the big pass.
Arizona State outscored them 20-7 in the final three quarters. No, it was 17-7 in the second half. I mean, Arizona State outscored them to come back. So down 17-3. Next thing you know, you take the lead, and then you end up losing on that touchdown there at the end. You nearly pitched a second-half shutout until that big pass play that lost you the game. So, again, not going to sit there and start writing their obituary just yet. I do think it is for Kenny Dillingham, though, an interesting learning lesson of, you go out there, and he was impressed when I heard him talk about the atmosphere. Said it was one of the best atmospheres he's ever been in Starkville. But I do think it's something that will be valuable for him as a young coach. Not that he hasn't coached in other atmospheres like that, but you take that for what it was and you get better from it. And next time you have to go to Starkville or somewhere like that, you've learned a couple things along the way. He's still a young coach. They're still a very good team. And that was a great win for Mississippi State and a tough loss for Arizona State, but I still think they're going to be okay in the long run.
If you're one of the SEC teams and you got one of those decent algorithms, and because you have, for example, when it came out, you're going to have Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. And all of a sudden, now even that game, you're like, damn.
Oh, no, yeah. Hey, we got Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. Well, that might be 2 losses for you, buddy. I mean, based on where they are right now. So, Mississippi State, I think, kind of widely seen as the worst team in the league this year. And that used to be Vanderbilt's, permanent spot practically. And now Mississippi State definitely not just going to roll over. Now, I don't know how many more games they're going to win. I think, there's still a tough schedule in front of them, but that was a great win. I think for Dillingham, it's another test as well, or he learned from that experience, but that fan base got spoiled really quick. He comes in there and within 2 years, they're winning the Big 12 and they're playing in the playoff, and they got an NFL quarterback, and they suffer this loss, and he's having to rev them back up. And so that's part of the process with the program that's not just flip the light switch and 75,000 show up for yell practice or whatever. You've got to kind of build that thing up, and that'll be part of his challenge there, is to not only build the fan base, but have them learn that you got to stick through this thing thick and thin, if that makes sense.
Because if you haven't done it
in a while at least,
then they can turn on you quickly. They as big a campus as that campus is in Tempe. Now,
not even turn on you, but just not show as much support as they need to.
Not turn on you like start
Right.
burning the flag of Arizona State or the Sun Devil, but they can all of a sudden it's not as hip to be there at the game, etc. Now, Deion Sanders, we mentioned the quarterback situation with Staub, and what are they going to do with Salter and Julian Lewis and more. Dion, when asked about playing on Friday, it's going to be a hell of a game. I tried to get Willie Fritz on, but they had the early condensed week. ESPN is on campus today as they're doing interviews, getting ready for their prep for the broadcast. Dion on his thoughts about Willie Fritz.
Coach Fritz, remarkable career, unbelievable career. What he accomplished at Tulane and so forth has been astonishing, unbelievably. So I am very impressed by what he's accomplished as a coach, as well as being National Coach of the Year in 2022. And Tulane 12-2, they were flat out rolling, man. 23-4 in the last 2 years. God bless you, Coach. Love what you're doing. Love what you're doing for all coaches. Love your staff, what you've assembled, and what you're building there.
Now, do we have the other part of it too, Brendan? He talked about that they're going to have to run the football. He mentioned that he hopes it's a sellout because he said we like playing in front of a sellout crowd. Houston doesn't have a big stadium, but I got a feeling they'll be fired up for that one on Friday night against Colorado. Based on just talking to a couple of people that are in the Houston area, they seem like they have this kind of a high-pitched fever because of expectations and seeing that they have a chance and expecting to win this game.
I think that they had got a real legit chance to win this game, so they should feel that way. And I don't know how much of a home field advantage they can really count on, but I'd encourage Houston fans, if you're flip-flopping on whether to go and it's not going to break the bank or something, then get your ass to the stadium and go support the Cougs. This is a big game for them. This is the kind of game that can turn your season one way or the other. This could be 3 wins halfway to bowl eligibility in 3 weeks. That'd be a big damn deal for Willie Fritz. So, with Dion coming to town, I imagine they'll have some more walk-ups at worst. I wanted to just check out the Buffs for that reason. And I think – Colorado is not just a foregone conclusion as a loser in this ball game by any means, but it's just there's a lot they're still trying to figure out, particularly offensively, but really all over. And so that's why I can't just go what probably would have felt like a layup maybe a few months ago. Yeah, I'll take Colorado over Houston. And now with the way things have played out, it's like, I don't know. I mean, you can't run the football. You got 3 quarterbacks that you can't settle on one of them because not one of them's really all that great. And even Staub last week, I mean, all of them kind of showed you something, but Staub was good, but it wasn't as though he had been commandeering the offense for like 3 quarters and had taken, it was a bit part basically where he looked really good. But yeah, I think that Colorado's still dangerous, but with Houston's defense, and then, if a guy like Dean Connors can run on Colorado, then I think there's your formula right there. Just have Wegman, have to do a little bit through the air, but I think that'll be a fun atmosphere on Saturday, and it should be because Dion brings eyeballs, and this is also a great opportunity for Willie Fritz and the Cougars.
Yeah, I think that when you can smell a little bit of that blood in the water, like they might be able to in a conference game, no less, and be halfway to bowl eligibility. When you look back at Houston last year, and for the first year of a coach, you could see those things coming together for them a little bit. They needed to be more consistent on the offensive side of the ball, and if they can continue that growth, man, like they could mess some people's seasons up in the Big 12 for sure. And Colorado, right now, Houston looks like they figured out kind of who they're going to be, and Colorado doesn't know that at all yet. And so they have an opportunity to take advantage of a team that I think, with the way that Deion Sanders motivates and the way that he can do that, it's probably not going to be down for long. But right now, they don't know who their quarterback's going to be potentially. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of it before someone gets in there, whether it's Juju Lewis or Ryan Staub or Caden Salter, and gets hot. Yeah, like that's what you have to do right now.
And Andrew put up a poll about that as far as who you think should play quarterback this week for Colorado on Friday at Houston.
I think it'll be Staub, but I think we'll see probably all 3 of those guys, unless he just plays really well.
Andrew Monaco, the voice of A&M, Aggies Athletics, will join us at like 5:25 today. A&M is on the road in South Bend against Notre Dame, lost last year at home. hell of a game, but Notre Dame, of course, was on their way to being a college playoff team. The last ranked road win for the Aggies was 2014, their third year in the SEC against Auburn. The last true road win versus a non-conference Power 4 team was 12 years prior to that against Pittsburgh. And then A&M's last win versus a ranked non-conference opponent was 1979 against Penn State. So there's a nugget. Tim England with the response to Landon Rosso asking about the biggest game in his short tenure. Of course, he's just begun. And that game in South Bend.
Leave that up if you would, please, so I can just kind of keep looking at it. But, yeah, as I'm scanning over all three of those statistics there, it seems kind of hard to believe.
No, it is.
Honestly.
There's not as many Power 4 schools that go on the road to play Power 4 non-conference games. It's not something you see a lot of. There are, but it's difficult. And A&M during some of this time was not bad that you would have thought they would have had success.
Yeah. Craig says it looks hard to believe. Take it from a guy who grew up in a maroon household. It's not really that hard to believe. Yeah. I mean, these are like, I think about when they went to play, and this is like right before the Big 12, might have been like 94. They went to play Colorado. They were number 3 in the country, and Colorado knocked their D in the dirt. Yeah, like in a violent way.
Yeah, but we're talking now 55 years. Since they beat Penn State.
Yeah, that's a
not
long
55.
time. Yeah,
45.
46.
Yeah, 46.
46 years since that happened. So yeah, I'm not 55. Come on. That was 1 year before I was born. It doesn't completely surprise me when these things happen, because that's the curse of the College Station that exists until they break it. They have a very interesting offense right now. However, Notre Dame, I just came off a really, a hard-fought game in week 1 against Miami. CJ Carr looks like a guy who is not intimidated at all. So all this stuff, like, you should be able to, in a world that makes sense, if you're A&M, you lost at home last year in a game that was close until the fourth quarter, and a veteran quarterback got the better of you and Riley Leonard, and a veteran team. Now that team, you've got the veteran quarterback, they've got the new guy, you're going to their place. I just don't know. I mean, you'll see in our picks, I made a bold stand here, but I'm not all that strong about it because I just know how these things go.
Yeah.
And they should be better off than they are, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's a great test for both. Notre Dame with the loss to Miami, they surely can't fall a couple of games deep after just 3 or 4 weeks of the season. Also, Vanderbilt plays South Carolina. This is going to be a great one. Bryce Henderson, Vanderbilt offensive lineman. So Diego Pavia is not the only one that likes to – there's nothing wrong with saying how you feel, but nobody really talks about the Commodores. And I think after we go in there and show these guys what's what, I think people are going to open their eyes up a little bit. All we know is we're going to go play our football, and we know that we can beat them, and we're going to go in there and do it. So, I mean, it's okay to feel like you're pretty good, but I wouldn't say that nobody's really talking about the Commodores. It's still not on the front and center, but I think that after last year with Pavia and him coming back, I think more people have talked about Vanderbilt than not.
I mean, more people are talking about him now than have for the most part
25
for like the
years,
last 25 years. I mean, maybe last year when Pavia fever kind of hit there for a moment, that was sort of the most recent peak. But go beat South Carolina, and I think we'll see a new peak. And I think people are well aware that they're not the doorstep of the SEC anymore, that they are a real threat. You better take them serious. I know Alabama does. I know South Carolina will after this weekend. Yeah, I think this is a great game that if you were in a time machine like 2 years ago, I don't think you just skim right over this one and you get to, Miami, or not Miami, USF, but you get to a game and you'd be like, hey, that game looks really good. But Vandy, South Carolina, your eyes, unless you're a fan of either one of those schools or just like an SEC diehard, you just kind of go right over that one. Not now. You got to see that. You got to see, because South Carolina is being treated like a real contender, had the big complaint about the playoff there at the end and whether they were deserving or not, all this preseason hype of Lenore Sellers and how he might be the best quarterback in college football and so on and so forth. And then on the flip side, you got Vanderbilt coming off of a very successful year. They get the big legal win with Pavia coming back, which completely changes the outlook of their season. So, yeah, these are two teams that I think are fighting for the same real estate. and fighting for, at least for right now, some of that middle of the pack, but with the opportunity to leap forward with some more wins. This is a good, interesting game with a couple of really fun quarterbacks to watch. So I'm looking forward to this one, and I love the confidence, man. I mean, I don't know how often I've seen like a player quote from a Vanderbilt guy necessarily like spotlighted, but that means that they're relevant if we're even talking about it. Like if they were old Vanderbilt, who cares what he has to say about it? But the fact that there kind of might be a little something to it, that they might roll in there and actually go win that game, you're like, okay, go Vandy with your bad self, like talk a little trash and let's go out there and crack heads on Saturday.
As he said, we do what we do, right? After we go in there and show these guys what's up or what's what. And so there we are. Good stuff from Bryce Henderson. We'll see what the result might be. One more note, and then we break. We have Brett McMurphy coming up just a second around the corner from On3.com. So this was at a media press conference. Brett Venables was about to talk about Oklahoma playing at Temple. And here are, and you might be able to pick this up, some media members, the mic is on, kind of discussing the game in Temple, about the crowd and the size of the stadium and how it could be an absolute one-sided affair when it comes to what the Crimson bring to the table.
Temple or Philadelphia know what to expect. Like, how many OU fans are going to make the trip? How many OU fans are just in that? I'd bet it's like 25K. Total? Yeah. It'll be interesting. Like coming to high school game. It's gonna be like a weird bowl game.
There's not a lot of tickets on that game. It's weird. I don't know. There's like sections that they just don't even sell.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are sold tickets.
Is it like a tarp off the upper deck?
I would imagine.
Exactly. It's a weird all around.
So fans talking about the game. Temple's not a big school. There's some schools that no matter what, they just don't have huge crowds or big stadiums. So there's a little off the mic comments from some of the members at that press conference.
You've got to be aware when you're at a press conference that the mic is live more often than not. Even if the coach isn't standing up there, there's a good chance that, they're still picking up all the background noise.
They've got to test it.
Yeah, they've got to test it. And I feel like one of those voices sounded kind of familiar, but I don't want to say the name because I don't want to be wrong on that. But yeah, I mean, that sounds like a typical media conversation. You said fans. That was a couple of media members, actually.
I meant media.
I guess in some places, probably same thing. But, I mean,
in some cases.
I don't think there's anything too harmful with what they're saying other than, like, it's a little bit disrespectful or, like, it's like playing a high school team with 25,000 people. But is it totally off base? I don't know. I think that's the attitude that, most Oklahoma fans are rolling into that game with. And that's the attitude you think the team probably has. We're going to go in there and beat them up and not leave any doubts. And, Temple's probably sitting there thinking we're going to give them a fight, but there's a really good chance we get our asses kicked here. So, we'll see. It's a tough challenge for Temple, no doubt about it. But, be careful, media members, when you're anywhere. In general, anybody, actually, when you're around microphones, just assume they're live. Assume that they are on.
Or with the way cell phones are, you got to be careful with that too. Brett McMurphy will join us. He wrote an article about USF and Alex Golish. He'll be a part of the show today. Coming up next, we appreciate you. If you have not subscribed to our channel, we would appreciate that you do. And also hit the like button if you haven't already. And we take you up until 6. And this is 365 Sports. Testosterone is more than a sex hormone. It builds muscle, burns fat, sharpens your focus. A lot of times, and with most of the commercials you see about low T, a lot of them are about sex drive and or performance. It's like a bunch of them. Very rarely do they discuss your energy. Are you lethargic? You just don't feel right. It could be many things that also might be going on, or you're just worn out because you're going through a time in work or whatever personally, and you're not doing well. But that's what low testosterone can do, more than just the sex hormone. It can or affect that. Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. How will you know if that is an issue? If you're 25, don't worry about it. If you're in the mid-30s, upper 30s, or into the 40s, and you're starting to feel things aren't quite the same, contact Dr. Kent Petty at pettycliniclowt.com. Tell them that I sent you, and they'll set up an appointment for you to get blood. They will get the results and get back in touch with you on where your testosterone level is. And if it is too low, they can put you in a program to increase it so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. 10 years strong at pettycliniclowt.com.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Drive the Motor Trend Truck of the Year during the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get a new award-winning Ram half-ton Laramie Crew Cab with $15,000 off plus 3.9% for $72, or grab a new Ram Lone Star Crew Cab, $11,000 off MSRP plus 3.9% for $72. Plus, Toyota, Ford, and GM owners get an additional $1,500 in savings right now. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Summer's heating up, but Bird Coach and Ford is freezing the prices.
Right now, get 0% APR for 48 months, 0 down, and no payments for 90 days. Cool off with us in our freezing showroom and catch a hot deal before summer's over. Whether it's an F-150, Explorer, or Escape, we've got the perfect deal waiting for you.
Whew. Texas weather can be crazy. Shop anytime inside our showroom or at bkford.com. Experience better at Bird Coach and Ford.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports. Later in the show, former Texas offensive coordinator Greg Davis. He was at Iowa with Mac Brown and Tulane as well. He'll join us at 5. Brett McMurphy on 3.com with us, cranking out information left and right. Brett, thank you so much for your time. So what a week it's been for Alex Golish and USF, and imagine what an incredible week it would be if they can somehow run the table and get to 3-0.
Yeah, Smokey, as great as the start has been, I think it comes to a halt this week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as impressive as they've been, and I was actually at the Boise State game. You know, I don't want to diminish what they've done, but the Boise State game was a lot closer than the final margin. That the yards were about even. They took advantage. USF took advantage of turnovers. Had a really nice fake punt for a touchdown. And so that, I think the margin was misleading. And then against Florida, I mean, Billy Napier just coaching malpractice in the final 3 minutes, trying to run out the clock. And he ran out. Well, actually, my answer is longer than how much time he ran off the clock, which allowed Florida to go down and kick the game-winning field goal. So if he just does a better job managing the game there at the end, you know, Florida probably wins that game. And then maybe everybody's looking at USF differently. But the final thing is, the last 2 years, I looked this up, there's been at least 7 group of 5 teams that have beat power conference teams. And then the next week, they're 2-5 in those games, and then 1-6 against the spread. So there's a reason why that number is about 16, 17 points. And, you know, again, a 3rd consecutive ranked team. You know, this is for, you know, I'm in Tampa. This was a historic win for USF and really meant a lot to USF and their fan base and obviously the players. I just wonder how much left they have in the tank. The good news is I think they can lose to Miami 100-0, And if they still win the American Championship, I would put them as the favorite to get the Group 5 college football playoff bid.
Well, they've got two of the big three. They got Florida State back under Jim Leavitt. They got Florida now. Maybe they get Miami, but I want to talk about the Gators for a second, Brett. Last year, Billy Napier was under the same level of heat. I mean, it was not looking good for him. He had big losses early in the season. They got some key wins. It also kind of helped him that there was a Title IX controversy around Todd Golden, which provided him some cover because he wasn't the biggest problem on the campus at that time. Obviously, that's gone away in a big way. What is the future for Billy Napier? Has anything really changed from last year to this year when it comes to him and what he can do for that Gator program?
I mean, you laid it out, but it's pretty simple. He either wins, or he doesn't. And if he doesn't win, then he's gone. It's that simple. If he wins, then they'll keep him around. And you look at his upcoming schedule, next 4 weeks, all ranked opponents at LSU, at Miami, open day. Gators are about a 3-point underdog to open day. And then they got Texas and then at Texas A&M. And then you've got Georgia and Jacksonville a couple weeks after that. So 5 of your next 6 games are against ranked opponents. If he comes out of that 3-2, he's got a shot. If he's 2-3 or worse, I think it's inevitable that he'll be gone. And again, the loss to USF, I think, hurt in a lot of ways. Again, yes, it mattered that they lost to, little brother, but also, again, if you guys watched any of the game, which I just referenced, it's the way they lost. A lot of dumb mistakes. You had for any Seinfeld fans out there, you had another Magic Loogie with the Florida kid spitting on the USF kid, which was 100 times worse than what we saw in the NFL game. And so, again, it's just you've got teams making these mistakes over and over. And, look, we know you guys have been following football as long as I have. Whether it's fair or not, the head coaches get all the credit or all the blame when things go good or when they go bad. And so was it Napier's fault the kid spit on the USF player? No, he didn't tell him to. He didn't know he was going to do that, certainly, or wouldn't have been in that position. But no one cares about that. It looks bad for the program. And so if he can't win against this upcoming gauntlet, then yeah, he won't be around for 2022.
Brett, I guess I'll ask you about another coaching situation in progress right now where it's getting pretty hot, and you know it very well out there in Stillwater, Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy. I think clearly the worst team in the Big 12 right now, and I mean, quite frankly, maybe one of the worst teams in all of FBS at the moment. What are you hearing, and how are you kind of looking at what's going on and digesting all of just this problematic, I guess, season starting in Stillwater right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, Oregon Steel Club, the Cowboys, make no mistake about it, but Oregon's kind of Steel Club a lot of folks. The key for Gundy is, almost like Napier, how does he respond the rest of the way? Tulsa's a winnable game. Sounds weird. It's a winnable game. Yeah, obviously they should beat Tulsa. And then you get into Big 12 play where they are going to probably be a home underdog against the Bears, and then at Arizona, and then Houston, Cincinnati. I mean, there's some games in there where they will probably be favored and can win. I think it depends on how they respond. I mean, they can come back and win some of these games, or look, if they go 3-9, it's not a good outlook. That's the thing that's, I think, challenging for the Oklahoma State folks is how much credit or how much equity have you built up when you have 18 consecutive winning seasons, and then last year was a nightmare. Make no question about it, 3-9. So do you allow another nightmare season, or that was your one nightmare season and now you've got a rebound? He's totally gutted the entire coaching staff. He's got an entire new coaching staff. Like everybody else in college football, they've got a ton of transfers. I don't think that they just, by no means have they decided we're going to do this or we're not going to do this. I think, like a lot of folks, they're waiting to see how the season plays out, and probably that will determine, what happens with Mike. And the thing is, it is different from, he doesn't have, Napier does not have the equity that Gundy has. And I think part of it too, and look, I was at Oklahoma State, before Gundy was a player. And so I remember how bad Oklahoma State used to be. Oklahoma State was horrible. It was, I'd call them a laughing stock, but I don't want to, insult other laughing stocks. We were a complete joke. We played in a erector set. I mean, if we didn't lose Oklahoma by 7 touchdowns, it was a moral victory. And what Mike did is obviously Les Miles came in and he started the turnaround, and Mike was the coordinator on that staff, and then Mike took over. And then he told me he changed the entire landscape of Oklahoma State. That's great. The challenge is now that that's become the expectation. And people don't want to hear how it used to be and how bad it was. They want to know, when are you going to get to the college football playoff? When are you going to win another Big 12 title? And you can't go 3-9 again. You can't lose by 66 to Oregon. And so it's just kind of a mixture of everything. And then obviously with today's society, what have you done for me in the last 5 minutes? Not even last season. And so then you get, this sense of urgency. Well, we got to do something. We got to do something. They're not going to do something till the end of the year. And I think that'll depend on how the Cowboys finish.
So some of the better games this week in the top 25, Clemson and Georgia Tech, and Clemson getting a lot of love at the start of the year. Now LSU beat them to start the year, and it was a hell of a game. And then Clemson last week playing with their food, finally come back against Troy. Why do I look at that game and think Georgia Tech is the best team?
Because you're one of the most brilliant minds in college football.
Thank you, sir.
Because they are. I mean, Clemson wasn't playing with their food. They were, they struggled. I mean, LSU put the stranglehold on Clemson in that game, and that was a perfect setup for Clemson to play that game in the, Death Valley Junior, whatever you want to call it. But they had LSU at home. They had them on the ropes. And they didn't score in the second half. And, their offense does not look good. And Smokey, I agree with you. I was one of these guys that thought Clemson was the class of the ACC. I don't think they are. I think Miami's better. I think Georgia Tech can beat them. Haynes King is expected to play. He said out last week. One of the toughest kids in college football. And Brent Key, he's got a saying, and it's simply run the damn ball. And they will run the damn ball. And I think they can play keep away with Clemson. And if there's no crazy turnover luck here, I agree with you. I think Georgia Tech's a better team. This is a great spot for them. And this would be a crippling loss to Clemson, which can't say it would eliminate them from college playoff contention, but certainly I think it would eliminate them from getting a large bid. They can still win the ACC, obviously, even with a loss and with some luck. But that's one of the games I'm really, really psyched about seeing this weekend is Georgia Tech Clemson. So I think Georgia Tech's the real deal, and I think everyone fell in love with what Clemson brought back, and for whatever reason, it's not clicking. Just because you bring back a lot of folks, you guys know it, doesn't mean you're going to have the same success the following year.
Brett, Clemson has to get their scary back. They used to be scary, and I just don't feel like anybody is afraid of them in the way that they used to be. In spite of how much talent they may have, they're not intimidating folks at all, and they're not. They're kind of bland, which was surprising given all the changes they made over the last couple years.
You're right. And I mean, I watched some of the Troy game. Troy was gashing them. Troy was running the ball on him. Obviously, Clemson eventually took that game over. But still, they shouldn't struggle in that game. Now you could say, well, they're in a flat spot coming off LSU. That's fine. But I agree with you. They're not intimidating. They don't have that kind of it factor, that wow factor. And then those folks that are, critical of Dabo Swinney, they're like, and this is with a lot of coaches. We heard it with Jimbo Fisher. What's Jimbo's record without Jameis Winston? What's Dabo's record without Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson? You know, it's funny how these great quarterbacks can make these coaches look really good, and then when they lose these generational quarterbacks, then it kind of shows that it's kind of really not coaching. It kind of matters if you have the better players, you got a better chance to win. I agree with you. I don't think Clemson's got the better players right now, and so far, Cade Klubnik has been a disappointment, quite frankly.
Brett, are you surprised by Kansas State's early season struggles, and do you feel like this is something that's correctable for them, or is there like issues that are, not like controversial issues or anything, but just like culture that's just not going to plan right now in Manhattan?
I think they got some of that Oklahoma State 2024 rubbed off on them because they look exactly like OSU did last year. OSU was projected, one of the top teams in the conference. And then whatever reason, they brought back a ton of folks, starting quarterbacks, Ollie Gordon, and things just didn't go right. And then looking back at OSU season, I think once things started going wrong, then it's like everybody started pressing. And they pressed and pressed and pressed. And then they got to the point where they realized, hey, our playoff bid's screwed. We can't win the conference title. And then it went south really, really quick. Is that going to happen to Kansas State? I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, the Ireland game, look, there's nothing's wrong with losing to Iowa State. I think Iowa State's one of the top teams in the conference. But then, again, they struggle to win when they come back against an FCS team. They hang on to beat North Dakota, rally to beat North Dakota as a 4-touchdown favorite, and then Army beat them. And I don't know if there's so many crazy stats. I don't know if you guys saw this. The second half, time of possession, there's 30 minutes in the second half. Army had the ball for over 26 minutes. That's like impossible.
Yeah.
But they did. So now you've got a game, now you got a short week. You've got the extended travel of Ireland. Now you're playing, you came off an option team. Now you're going in an Arizona team, which I think was vastly underrated going into the year. I think they want to prove that they're better than what last year showed. So they could be looking at 1-3 right now, and then, what happens is does the bottom fall out? But it's like thank goodness the Big 12 didn't do their media poll because they probably would have been at the top of it. They may finish last. I asked all the coaches in Frisco to pick their championship. The 2 championship teams, my anonymous poll I did for On 3, and Kansas State and Iowa State got the most votes. And Kansas State could finish towards the bottom of the league.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that's you're right about the poll. I would have had K-State probably 1 or 2. Last thing for me.
Yeah.
You wrote the article today on Golish and USF, and you put the note in about the first one to go from Russia to being a college football playoff coach. Give everybody that don't know the background on Alex Golish and where he came from.
Yeah, it's really amazing. He was actually born in Moscow, Russia, in 1984. And for folks that aren't up on their Soviet Union history, when he was about 6 or 7, there were protests, there were tanks rolling through the capital city in Russia. The Soviet Union was collapsing. There was a Cold War going on. There was a lot of stuff going on. And so basically his family, they had 2 sons, so they feared for their sons' lives. So they got on a plane and flew to New York City when he was 7. They moved in with an aunt. They moved to Ohio. He got introduced to the game of football when he was 12 and became a defensive line coach in high school. And then he kind of climbed his way up, 9 jobs in 20 years. Most recently offensive coordinator at Tennessee, and now he got the head job at USF. And it's true. When he was in elementary school in New York when he was 7 years old, his entire family did not speak one word of English. And he said the first word he learned in English was bathroom. And the reason was so when he had to go to the bathroom in class, he knew what to say. So he could leave the room and go to bathroom.
Wow, that's awesome.
You know me, I'm always up for a good pun. So I said it's fitting that the first word English word he learned was bathroom, because USF's program has been in the rhymes with spitter until Golish got there 3 years ago, and he's turned it around.
Yeah, no question. Brett, great stuff as always. I love your sense of humor with some of the tweets and, as you said, the puns. Thank you so much for your time. Great job in the story, and enjoy the rest of the week. We'll see you soon.
All right, enjoy the veal.
Yep. Brett, enjoy the veal. Brett McMurphy, by the way, this is like one of his tweets, and I know we're up against the 4 o'clock hour. Any 5-year-old seeing this, you might play in a future Liberty versus James Madison games, as those schools have scheduled home and home through 2040 with games throughout at both James Madison and also Liberty. Yeah, he's a funny dude, but also a tremendous reporter covering the game of college football.
I can't wait till we find out in 2029 that one of the schools has to buy it out because they have another.
No, yeah. What?
Sorry about that 2040 game. We've got to back out.
We'll take a break here. Come back to 4 o'clock hour, including around the corner, Craig's Big 12 Mojo rankings. We've got a couple of other stories that we did not get to during the Smokehouse headlines. Paul is back. The trio is back. The group is back, and we appreciate you. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club, Nick Colwell's the general manager, and they're celebrating what now is 11 years inside McLean Stadium, which opened up in that unbelievable year they had in 2014 that included 61-58 and another Big 12 championship. And they're also going to have a game day weekend experience for you for the game against Samford on Saturday morning. Knox Hall tailgate coming up. By the way, coming up before the Arizona State game, they will have all of it going on when Arizona State, a week from Saturday, will be in Waco for a 6:30 kickoff. So all of that, boat tours, exclusive sailgating experience as you head over to McLean Stadium for the game. Also, of course, the Baylor Club itself. It's a phenomenal place. Great to get food, whether it's for a brunch and or lunch and or dinner, and chefs that cook top flight, high level, great food. If you've never eaten there, you should. And every once in a while, they'll have a tasting experience for the members to say, man, this is great. Or you like it, but you're not so sure, but it's still going to be on the menu at some point. They've got a great display, great setup, great place to have meetings, luncheons, and more at the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off of I-35 in Waco.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered.
We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
So, obviously, it has not been a very strong start for Nico Imaliava at UCLA, who was at Tennessee, and we know about that story from back in the spring. And now he is at UCLA, and it's not gone very well. Joey Aguilar, who was at UCLA, and even they tried to say, hey, we want you to stay here, goes to Tennessee. That made sense. It's like a trade for a trade, talent for a talent, not maybe, quarterback for quarterback. His father, on his son and the Nico swapping of quarterback roles, we don't have any problems with Nico. If anything, it's thank you. I think it's clear who won the trade.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Joey Aguilar, and he had something to prove. I mean, when you have a gigantic chip on your shoulder, if things are going apparently well at UCLA, and then they decide to go get Nico out of the portal like they did, and they're like, oh, we'd love for you to stay. Well, if you did want me to stay, then you wouldn't have called Nico. And you thought things were going well and you were going to be the starter. Now, I understand that you think you see this talent of this guy who's getting all this money and was in the playoff a year ago. But just saying that it was only Nico that got them there, when they had guys like Dylan Sampson and Dante Thornton and all these really good players and a really solid offensive line, which Nico was apparently mad about, and went off to UCLA. Yeah, I think so far that they've won the trade because that team was better off. And I have no problem saying it that Josh Heupel's a far better coach to get you to the NFL than Deshaun Foster is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's clear as day. Is Josh Heupel's a way better coach than Deshaun Foster is. Not even a close.
It's not a discussion.
No, it's not.
Right,
it's not a conversation. So, yeah, I think that Joey Aguilar, as just a byproduct of how that all unfolded, got a great opportunity with a really good coach in Josh Heupel. Who better? I mean, I know there's the Ryan Days of the world and some others, but they're all kind of in that same collective group of the great quarterback mentors in football. And so, yeah, I think that's clearly something that benefits Joey Aguilar, and he's played really solid. Has protected the football. He's got, nice numbers, and has just gone about his business and been precise and pretty efficient. And I think there's a lot to like about the way things have started. Now, this weekend, it's like a little bit of a different animal. You got the Dogs rolling into your game plan. So really excited to see how Aguilar and these Vols compete in a big time SEC opener. I'm really much looking forward to that. But yeah, and especially when Georgia, it feels like for like the umpteenth year in a row almost of like they're there and we know they're really good and we know some names but like you don't know quite how good and you don't know like just. Are they like Georgia national championship level, or are they like Georgia playoff team? Or are they like we don't quite know, even though we know they're pretty good. So yeah, this game is going to be a lot of fun for various reasons. But I don't blame Joey Aguilar's dad. I mean, I don't know that it would be my style to necessarily go and poke at it, but I can understand from the family's point of view and probably what some of they dealt with as well. And just the whole transition of going to Tennessee and how it all unfolded. I can see where you want to throw kind of a crack that way at the other guy. So all's fair in college football. trash talk, especially this time of year.
Yeah, and it's not like it just was one of the weird stories because of how it was reported. Pete Nakos, and there was a denial. Nico's father was very much a part of that too, as far as the denial, and he ended up going. So here are the stats. Nico's quarterback rating is 119.7. Aguilar's 170.2. 40 for 63 for Nico, 39 of 59 for Aguilar. 391 yards for Nico Iamaleava, and Aguilar's at 535. Nico's run for 106 and a touchdown, has been sacked 6 times too. 5 touchdowns for Aguilar, no interceptions. Nico 2-2, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks.
Yeah, I mean, Aguilar's clearly been better. He's on a clearly better team with a better head coach. And I don't see a whole lot of upside for UCLA this season or for Nico. I've watched them both games, and they're just not a good football team. He doesn't look like some superstar quarterback. Now, I know he's the type of guy that, despite his situation, some NFL guys like, no, I can fix him. Like I can make him great. And so he'll still have his opportunities. But as far as this idea, which I don't know if there ever really was much of an idea that he would go to Westwood and set the world on fire, like that's completely out the window now. Now he could have a year that escalates and end up pretty good, but like as a team, like big picture dreams were never all that realistic, but now they're pretty cooked. We'll see where they land in the land of the Big Ten when all is said and done, but there's not a lot of reason to be optimistic about them reeling off a bunch of wins at any point. So, I think UCLA is going to be looking for a head coach sooner rather than later. I think you go back to Deshaun Foster and like the practice bans, and remember at the time talking about this, going like, I don't think he gets college football, and now the results don't look that great. So, I mean, to the point of Joey Aguilar's father, though, he took a shot, but I think he also gave some compliments, even if they were backhanded. I mean, he said they don't have any problems with Nico, nor should they. I mean, it's not like he was ever Nico's the one talking trash and, bashing Joey or anything. And he said, if anything, it's thank you. Joey's in a great spot. That's what I'd say. Like, yeah, you should almost be thankful in a way, because his decision and his family's decision to go opened up this incredible opportunity for Joey Aguilar.
Right.
Where now he's probably doing something he never thought he dreamed about, but never thought was probably realistic 2 years ago or even a year ago. And now here he is in Knoxville playing, for the Vols. So that's awesome. And I do think through 2 games, it's clear who won the trade. Yeah, it's very clear. We'll see how the next, 10 plus weeks go. But right now, I think the Aguilar family is happy, and I don't doubt it for 1 second.
Deshaun Foster was a hell of a football player, but and so was Josh Heupel. Won a national championship as a quarterback at OU, and Bob Stoops' second year. But the resume, Deshaun Foster, let's give him time if he gets it, but it's early for him. But yeah,
I'm not sure time is going to heal ignorance, because he just seems to not see what everybody else sees.
Yeah,
and like it may be.
What was the comment he made? Remember when he got up in front of the Big Ten media day his first summer 2 years ago, and it just kind of like froze. Wasn't quite understand, and that might have been.
It was like a big, huge, like kind of embarrassing moment where he wasn't. It was just kind of awkward at the podium, and he kind of got some, at least social media attention. I won't call it heat, because it's not like he was like being some ass or something. It's like he was up there like he looked like
he wasn't kind of prepped very well.
No, he just wasn't ready for that particular moment, and so that was kind of an embarrassing sort of gaffe. And then you had and I'm maybe perhaps leaving some things out, but the most recent thing was the banning of the media at practice and that whole deal, where we talked about it. And media, as somebody who's been to dozens of college football practices at this point, I mean, you get 30 minutes, maybe if you're lucky, at the start of a practice, and you get to see stretching and you get to see group work at the very beginning. So if you love watching running backs just go through like pad drills and stuff, it's a cool thing to see, like the sophomore running back and how strong he looks or how fast he is or how he cuts or whatever, but you're not gleaming a lot like where it's going to beat the team that you're watching from that. So that's where I think he got a little over his skis and took it a little bit too seriously and made some enemies within the media, which if you're a guy who's not just on rock solid ground to begin with, is probably not the best idea. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So there's that.
I think it just showed that he wasn't ready to be in the spot he was in. He was there at media days. He wasn't ready for that.
Now, he was much better this last summer,
Yeah,
though. He had turned
yeah.
it around and was a much better podium guy.
Yeah, and look, the situation at UCLA kind of changed on a dime when Chip Kelly left. So I don't think Deshaun Foster, a week before he was the head coach, had any thoughts that he was going to be a head coach that fast. So to his credit, that's that. But I'm just watching them play. I'm watching, the way he assesses the way that they play and saying like, hey, we're close. And you're like, man, I think you need to be realistic about where you are. And then, his whole approach to the media, thinking that having players do one-on-one interviews is going to ruin their game plan, makes you think he didn't have a good one in the first place.
He probably doesn't have enough notches on his belt for that. Like Belichick can do that, and you can.
He's even wrong about that
at times. Yeah. I mean, there's other coaches that Saban wasn't. I thought Saban probably had more of an open door policy than you could imagine. But there are, some coaches don't want their coordinators or assistant coaches talking to the media, and some don't really care.
And that's fine. I mean, we probably spent enough on Foster and his decision makings. I mean, he's going to dig his own grave, or he's going to dig out of it. And so we'll see how they respond to a very rocky start. I know watching the Utah demolition a couple weeks ago that if there was 1,000 people in the stands, 990 of them were Utah fans.
Yeah.
And I know that's also kind of par for the course in Los Angeles on a Saturday night for UCLA football in some cases when you're not a hot team, and even if you are. But I saw an article earlier today. This is the most we ever talked about UCLA probably, but saw an article earlier today where they were talking to fans, and fans were like, yeah, we're just disinterested. And I'm like, we are kind of born disinterested to begin with. So if you're disinterested now, that's really a bad sign that you were interested, and now he's turned you away from being interested because of the way they're playing. But going back to the start of this, Nico and Joey Aguilar, I mean, we're talking about a lot of things, and I know we got to react to them because they're happening in the moment, but we are a couple weeks in. There's a long way to go, and a lot of narratives that are building up that are going to go to the wayside or be proven just to be a bunch of baloney to begin with. I do think, though, that Joey Aguilar got a nice lottery ticket and is making the most of his opportunity and seems to embrace it. And I don't know what all Nico embraces, but I'm very curious to see kind of how he performs the rest of the way. He'll still have, like I said, pro guys taking looks at him and whatnot, but I don't know how much they're actually going to win out there in LA this year.
Yeah, one more note on the attendance: 35,032 in a big stadium for the game against Utah and the blowout loss. And they do struggle with their attendance.
Well, then 25,000 were Utah fans.
Possibly,
based on what I saw.
Yeah. Also, the CW, man, how about them? What a great thing for them. This was the number for the game with SMU on Saturday, which was a very highly competitive game, a 17th ranked team against a team with a quarterback that might be an NFL draft pick, and back and forth. So they just had over 1 million who watched the game, and at times peaked to 2.5 or just over 2 million. And now they get Miami and USF. And so remember when all the conference realignment was going on and you wondered about what were the options and what content to fill the programming, the CW may have in some ways hit the lottery. And so they're off to a nice start with that game, and then having the one this weekend, Miami USF.
Yeah, Jim Williams said 2 years ago on our show when people were making fun of the CW, well, you make fun of it all you want, but it's in every market in the country, so it's not a bad deal to sneak some of your third-tier games or the other second-tier games onto it, because they'll probably, people can stumble across it a little bit easier than they can other places. As a matter of fact, when you go, I don't care who your cable provider is, if it's a local channel, most often now, when you hit the guide and you're looking for something, the first 15 to 20 channels are all the stuff that's local before you get to your QVCs and everything else. So being on the CW is a smart thing for the ACC. It's a smart thing for anybody who winds up there, just for people who are like, oh, hey, what can we put on for grandpa? He likes football. Boom. Yeah. There it is. I was surprised that people, look, we made fun of it too when that was the Pac-12's only hope at the time, but it's still, Jim made the point of it's not as bad an idea as people thought.
People who want to watch it will find it. I go to YouTube TV and it's one of the first things listed on the left of my upper level.
Yeah, I mean, as a wrestling fan, I'd watch NXT on there sometimes. They had various properties, NASCAR, some college football that I've checked out on there from time to time, depending on, time and place and whatnot. So I think they do a good job with their broadcast. And, yeah, a lot of people giggled at the Pac-12 partnership, but I think it actually ended up being really beneficial for the Pac to have that partnership. And it was kind of easy to poke because if you didn't pay attention to what the CW was doing or trying to do, then, yeah, in comparison to other leagues that you're in competition with, signing deals with ESPN and Fox and all of these big brands, it looks like a little brother type of a thing. But as far as like an alternative and like if the whoever who's up next in the media rights, I don't even know. It's all kind of happening once. But let's just say like if
it's all about the same year.
I mean, let's say like it's not going to be the Big Ten or the SEC because they're going to have like all of the jumbo brands. So like the Big 12, for example. Okay, so like if the Big or the ACC decided, and the ACC's done stuff with the CW. So if the Big 12 say like we're going to put our 5th game on there as opposed to it being on ESPN Plus, then I think it'd be a good broadcast. So yeah, good for them. I mean, the whole point, the whole reason everybody's talking about them is I think people realizing that they have a lot more sports than maybe you thought, but mostly because everybody's expecting their record to be broken this weekend. That's why everybody's talking about the CW. It's because of the Miami South Florida game. So they're anticipating that it's going to be their highest broadcast ever. They've had like a few 1 million plus broadcasts. I think they would need like 1.8 or something to break the record. And with Miami in their fan base and then USF's Mojo behind them, I think that's pretty realistic. So, yeah, I think 1.8 was a NASCAR race. So they're looking to break that this weekend. So if you're wondering why is everybody talking about the CW, it's because they're anticipating that rating for Miami USF.
All right, so the game included SMU, of course. We know their history with what happened in the late 80s.
And this game as well. Sorry, yeah, we got off on this tangent. But, that's a good number.
No, it's a great number, great game, very entertaining with some high-level players and dramatic to the end. In fact, 2 overtimes.
Could not have drawn. It was a game of the year candidate. I mean, so far.
There's a chance it's going to be at least a part of that discussion.
Oh,
absolutely.
Right now, it's absolutely in the discussion. And I don't know where it'll end up because we got so much football left to be played. But, yeah, that went from a no-doubter SMU win looking like a blowout to then this is interesting to no, SMU is going to win this game. There's less than, 8 minutes left to go. And then all of a sudden, Baylor does their thing and we get into double OT and then college kickers happen, and the rest is history. So,
Paul,
that was a great game.
Paul was in the middle of a third margarita or a Manhattan.
I was actually in the middle of photos.
Oh,
oh God. Poor Rami. Rami had to get the weddings there it started at 3:30. He had to get there obviously way, way earlier. And then at 1 o'clock, they started taking pictures or said they were starting to take pictures. And then as the groom, you are in this nebulous spot of, can I sit down? Can I just sit down for 10 minutes? And same with the bride. Although on this particular thing, it's more the bride's thing because she kind of sets the list of the types of photos of who the permutations that she wants. So it's a long time. I credit Amanda. We had one photo thing that lasted for 20 minutes after our ceremony was over, and our ceremony did not last 20 minutes.
Well, good. That's what happens when she's in charge. So the SMU Ponies, Mustangs, now part of the ACC in year 2. But remember, there was this documentary, the Pony Excess, 30 for 30. It was fantastic.
I finally look back at that period of when 30 for 30s were like ultra special.
They were.
Remember that? Like, it was like a big deal when they were dropping, and then they were like, "You like this? Here's every story ever known to man." So you're going to get them all the stories. And we're like, we don't need all the stories.
This one here.
Yeah, this one was good.
This one here was special. Now they're going to do a sequel on September 21st. Thunder On, the resurgence of the SMU Mustangs, covers the Ponies' rise from the ashes, death penalty, etc., into a berth in the college football playoff. Sam Kahn, who will be on with us tomorrow, saying that Eric Dickerson is in this one, as are other familiar faces. Chip Reeves, who directed Phi Slamma Jamma, is the one directing Thunder On.
Is Craig James?
I don't know.
I hadn't thought about him.
He's
in
a major
really long
part.
time.
He was being rolled out throughout the week last year at SM.
CJK5H, baby. CJK5H.
You know what's funny about Craig James is, and of course he was, when Pony Excess came out, he was trying to run for Senate. And so people asked him, did you take any money And the answer should have been, you're damn right I did. Everybody else was. But instead, this makes you look worse when you're like, no, I didn't. Because you're like, well, why would you not? They're giving it to you.
Yeah. I know a lot of players who mentioned they eventually admitted that they were getting paid. And especially after the rules changed in college football, it's not like you murdered somebody. It's like you absolutely back then it was verboten. We've seen with Reggie Bush, he's been reinstated in the Heisman Trophy. And so it's not looking at as, even though it was cheating at the time, it's not like, oh my God, clutch your pearls, he got paid.
I think if you're like 30 and under, or I don't know, maybe 35 and under, if you're a college football fan, you've looked into the sport, and you probably come across the death penalty, SMU, and all of that. But yeah, I mean, if you're young and you don't really know that story, and you're thinking of why was it such a big, because all you know now is basically players just freely getting paid like millions of dollars, then yeah, you would think it's bizarre about how it was like somebody committed a murder, taking money and a Trans Am. It was looked at as though you had killed people, and it was like, no, they just took money. Yeah, it was so against the rules.
And there were many that were. But one final thing here. This right here might be and I'm sorry, TCU, this might be the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life, and I don't know if it's because of the sunlight. It is the half-acre Korean corn dog that will be introduced in Section 109. A hot dog, mozzarella cheese combo dipped in what is UBE batter? Fried in ube, fried in panko, dusted with ube powder, drizzled with sweet and spicy honey. I'm sorry, that looks like a turd.
Yeah, ube batter is a vivid purple batter. I'm not reading online. Vivid purple batter used to make Filipino-inspired desserts such as pancakes, waffles, cakes, and muffins.
I bet it's delicious. I've had it before in Hawaii, especially. They use it a lot there. No, ube stuff. It's good. This is not what I would call the proper use of it.
This doesn't pass the eye test.
No, that's what I'm saying. Most of the time when I think I'm going to eat something, I'm going to probably look at how it looks. It might be disgusting looking, but might be incredibly tasteful. But
sometimes you got to weigh the pros and cons, and you know that something's just going to be really good, and then it's going to be painful or something later on. But you want to take that risk because you want the satisfaction of eating it or whatever. I don't know if I could even attempt to try and consume this in any form or fashion just based on the way it looks.
Yeah,
I think that's a total no for me. And again, I don't know how this passed the eye test where they're like, now let's put it on social media and show the whole world
maybe it's the purple color.
Ube corn dogs.
Yeah.
Ube is the purple color. That's part of it. Yeah. So that's by design.
And do you think that they could have gone back to the drawing board and been like, guys, can we make this look more like an actual corn dog?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would still be weird if it was just like a purple looking corn dog, but you could at least go, okay, well, it's just a purple corn dog. But that right there, that's not very appetizing. Let's
like
say
something you take. I'm not going to get that like a rodent or something like that. Okay. All right. One other note on UCLA attendance, and we break with Craig's Mojo rankings for the Big 12. I mentioned the attendance for the game against Utah was 35,032. That was the announced attendance. Most everybody that does some sort of a gaze said the official attendance was under 28,000 at that game with Utah, with most of them, as you mentioned, huge sections of Big Red from Utah and the Utes. When we come back, Craig Smoak's Big 12 Mojo rankings around the corner. Former Texas offensive coordinator during the great years of Mac Brown, Greg Davis, will have the voice of A&M as well. Andrew will join us as well. Andrew Monaco, voice of A&M, and so much more. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. And Ted Teague, the general manager and CEO, and David Gray handles the sales department, and they do an amazing job. The heavy-duty blowout sale continues right now in September at Alan Samuels. Get $10,000 off a 2025 Ram 3500. This thing is the limited luxury power towing muscle like no other. Whether you want to haul something, tow something, or just want to roll in style, the deal is built for you, fast and physical. Also, the Jeep Wrangler, Ram 1500, or Dodge Charger with cool savings that'll make your summer sizzle as we close out. Although it's kind of been a tint of cool fall at times in the morning, they have that available for you with incentives and more. Ask your salesperson when you get there, what are your discounts, incentives, and deals? And they have them. And great cars, SUVs, trucks, and more. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
What's up, chat? Don't delve in there very often, if at all, but I know you folks are always active, so shout out to you in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room. Appreciate you all and everybody watching and listening. Time for week 2 of the Big 12 Mojo rankings, a little segment we started last week in which I put together my list starting from 16 down to 1 is how we'll do this, of the Big 12 as it stands in my eyes based on what I call the Mojo rankings, which I explained earlier in the show, but we'll do once again here, is a very unscientific, very vibes-based sort of feel, but also results matter. Things off the field matter. It's recruiting, donations. I mean, anything that matters in this poll for an overall, like I said, sort of vibe around the program. So you might be 0-2, but depending on who you lost to and depending on what else is going on around your program, you might still be higher than a team that's 1-1 or probably not 2-0, but it kind of all depends. So let's get into it, and I'll explain my rationale for how I view the Big 12 currently. And even though it's vibes-based, this is, I think, strongest to weakest as far as the schools go, 1 through 16. So let's start off with the bottom batch here. And you see, based on last week, some of the movement as well. I did not have Oklahoma State in the bottom spot last week. I had UCF there because they just had a very poor showing in game number 1 against a team that you should roll in most cases, but it was a bit of a struggle. And so UCF was the call last week, but this week it has to be Oklahoma State, guys. I mean, there's no way when you take into account just the on the field that they're not number 16, but you take into account the off the field as well, all the conversation circulating around Mike Gundy, and that was a pretty easy call this week, although there was some stiff competition with the next two teams that were involved. K-State stays at 15. I was fully anticipating them jumping up a couple of spots last week. I thought they would go beat Army, and even if everything wasn't still A-okay behind the scenes, that they still got Avery Johnson. They'll beat Army. Like, they'll win. They'll be 2-1. Things will be feeling better. Dylan Edwards will come back at some point, right? Right? We hope, but still not back. And instead, it ends up in another loss, a 1-2 start, and just a lot of questioning about everything around the program right now. So if not for Oklahoma State, they would be occupying the number 16 spot, but instead they'll remain there at number 15. West Virginia, big drop after watching that game against Ohio. A tough loss. I mean, Ohio, not totally embarrassing to lose to them, and I'm saying that more out of respect for Ohio than I am like trying to knock West Virginia, but it's still a very bad loss. And the way you looked and the losses, the injuries of Jaheim White and Jaden Bray now multiplying your issues, don't have a solid quarterback. I mean, it's just kind of a mess, but there is at least the fact that this is still new again. We're excited about Rich Rod for the most part. We know it's going to be tough early on, maybe tougher than we anticipated. Can't account for injuries, but we're still excited about what he can do moving forward.
If you had just say they were 8th last week and you had dropped them to 12th after a close win over Ohio, I would say that that's kind of justified when you're talking about Mojo when you lose two of your better offensive players.
Yeah, sure. And that's why I go with Mojo rather than just power rankings, because I take into account all of the factors that kind of, again, give you the vibes of the program. So West Virginia, I think, reeling a little bit, and they had to fall based on the loss to Ohio, the loss of some of their star players, and just kind of how the rest of the season is looking. And then UCF was at 15 last week. They jump up, 16, excuse me. And they jump up, still trying to kind of figure out the exact way the quarterback situation is going to work. But Taven Jackson came in, did his thing, was solid enough. Curry Brown came in, had a really nice game. Need to get Miles Montgomery going. Not quite there where you want him to be, but I think there was some optimism out of that showing, and you won. So that's better than the 3 teams below you, and that's not always going to propel you above. Like, you won, so you jump over all the teams that lost. But as far as this week goes and the way UCF feels right now in a couple of weeks, a couple games in versus the way the other 3 feel, that was why I had the Knights moving up here. So thoughts on part 1?
They moved up because the other 3 were that bad.
And they also won.
Well, they won their game too.
I think that, Brett put a nice, he gave the whole story, Brett McMurphy, earlier, talking about Mike Gundy. I just know that, you're talking about Gundy is in the top 15 to 20 tied payest coaches in the country, right? And you don't pay a guy that much money to lose by 66 points to Oregon or anyone. That is ever. Yeah. Schools like Oklahoma State should not lose by 66 points. They should not. It just does not. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care who it is. You should at least, you can get blown out. That's going to happen. But the fact that they did it, the fact that Gundy kind of, I don't know if it was inadvertent or whatever, gave them more fuel like they needed it to beat them by commenting on how they build their roster, which, whether it was innocuous or not, he should be smart enough to know, hey, don't give them bulletin board material. And it's just the wheels are off in Stillwater right now when, you could say what you wanted about how Gundy did things before, but the car was always going and it was always kind of a fun ride. This is not effective at all.
Well, one of the other things about it, I just for some reason this came to mind. Bo Pelini won 9 games every year at Nebraska, but the games that got him fired, 52-17, 62-28, gave up 60 points again to Oklahoma. That's what got him fired. It wasn't that he won 9 games. You cannot lose games 69-3. I don't care what you've done before.
Well, get used to hearing the name Zach Robinson, because that is the number one target that you're going to hear the most for Oklahoma State if, in fact, they do decide to go in a different direction. Didn't help that Gundy's son's out there barking on Twitter and erasing messages after the fact, basically telling Oklahoma State fans that they should be grateful for where they are and who they are, because it's a large part because of him. And that's true. But I would say to I think Gage is his name, and to anybody else that's kind of sitting from that standpoint of, yeah, all those things you did were great, but you're not winning right now. So, that doesn't give you carte blanche to just be the head coach for forever, and you can just pile up losing seasons and run the program into the gutter because, hey, 5 years ago we were awesome, or even 2-3 years ago we were playing for a Big 12 title. And I was just sitting there thinking about all the badass skill guys Oklahoma State used to have.
Absolutely.
Like Des Bryant
One
was
after
a
another.
Cowboy, and Kendall Hunter, and they had quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, and they really haven't had a solid quarterback since
Blackman.
Spencer Sanders.
Yep.
And even by the end, he was kind of up and down, and they just don't seem to have the dudes right now. Yeah, they're talking carousel already, and we're 2 games in, and they just do not look good. So they were a clear number 16. But let's go on to the next part of this.
Well, don't have to get done, but remember, Bobby Bowden is Florida State football, and eventually he didn't have things like that happen. He just didn't win more than 7-8 games, and even the legend, the icon, eventually was run out at Florida State.
Yep, because you know what happened? He lost to USF.
No,
He lost to USF, and it was like, okay, that's not, we look down on this school in Tallahassee. So
there's 4 of the 16.
So on to the next batch here. Let's go 12 through 9. And Colorado. I think the biggest reaction I got last week was that they were a little bit too high, and I'm not adjusting to criticism by any means. My validation for Colorado last week was like, hey, yes, they should have beaten Georgia Tech given the amount of turnovers they got earlier in that game. Definitely should have scored a lot more points. Did not look very good. But then they go and get a win this past week, and I know it's weird. Why are you dropping them after a win? Well, it's because they have a 3-headed quarterback race with no true guy in the lead. They're not as good in some areas as I thought they would be, like defensively especially. Still have no run game. They're not as good as they were last year, and that's to be expected because you lost 2 of the greatest players in school history, at least in recent times, and certainly in Travis Hunter's case, all-time. But Shedeur, an all-timer, just maybe not jersey retirement right away, but he was very good for them. So you were going to drop off a little bit, but Colorado right now, I'm not very impressed by them. I still think the vibes are okay. But I do think the sense I get from a lot of Colorado fans is like, we're going to have to kind of lower our expectations a little bit here. And we're going to see where we are moving forward in the next couple of weeks. So there's a very much unanswered question at quarterback. And if you don't have an answer at quarterback, then, I can't really justify having you too high.
If they win in Houston, then that doesn't mean everything's perfect, but that obviously kind of turns that arrow back to the top.
But again, it's Mojo.
Yes.
Yeah, Mojo. I don't have, if I'm trying to pick between 3 dudes, I'm struggling with Mojo.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got the power aspect of it, but it's also the other parts of this. So, yeah.
Of those 4 teams, you have the right one at number 12.
I know.
Well, last week, I think didn't I say last week Colorado was too high?
I hate that I missed this last week.
I'm
enjoying this thoroughly.
Well, they lost and were too high, and now they've won, and somebody will say they're too low, but I think they're just about right now because it's all evened out. At 11, Cincinnati, Brennan Sorsby looked like Brennan Sorsby, looked much better. I think his receivers played a lot better. I think they watched the show and heard me talk about them against Nebraska, how they were playing kind of soft and scared in a way. I also gave credit to Nebraska's defense for that, but I thought Cincinnati kind of needed to toughen up on offense, and Brennan Sorsby being your star in the face of your franchise, along with
who's a tough guy,
Corleone and others. I think that they had a nice little bounce back from the Nebraska game. Now there is some injury news that is not so great that I got from listening to Scott Satterfield, and that is if you wanted to get a little bit of a hit of a deduction to the Mojo, Dante Corleone's out for probably the next month, maybe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he was injured against Bowling Green. He's out for at least a couple of weeks. So that is something to monitor, especially if you got Cincinnati coming up on the schedule here pretty soon, that one of their big dogs is not going to be in action. So it's a foot or ankle injury, happened right at the beginning, and he had to go into the locker room eventually, and that was the diagnosis coming out. So was encouraged by what we saw, but just a jump up for them by 1 spot. Then Houston, talked about them earlier, think they're just steady Eddie. There's a lot we don't know about them, I feel like still. We know they're a good defensive team. We know Willie Fritz is a great head coach. We know Connor Wegman's certainly better than what we saw at quarterback last year. Like, you know who the guy is. We know Dean Connors is a fun running back to watch and has gotten a lot of play this week. We still don't know about their wide receivers and their passing game, as Garrett pointed out earlier. So there are some unanswered questions, but I think Houston right now feels good about where they are. And if they beat Colorado, then it'll depend on what happens in front of them, but that will be a big mojo booster to be sure. And then Arizona, I had them jump up a lot. I think they're playing super efficient football. They haven't played, really anybody at this point that's a super challenging team, but we're also seeing a bunch of others struggle against teams that aren't supposed to be super challenging necessarily. So Arizona, I credit them for just being a team that's doing what they're supposed to do. I think Noah Fafita looks really sharp, and I like what I've seen so far from Arizona. So a team that I don't think a lot of people really know too much about just yet, but I credit them for what they've done versus what others have done.
They could be what you see 2 or 3 teams do every year in the Big 12 that gets overlooked for whatever reasons, weren't good last year. You got to wonder, and look where they are trying to maybe be a part of this situation, be a part of this conversation.
Outscored their 2 opponents 88-9. So, something's going well, and there's not enough that gets said about just doing what you're supposed to do in today's college football, because it's harder because of your depth isn't what it used to be, the transfer portal, all these different things, the nature of all of that. So to go out and beat Hawaii and Weber State the way that they Weber State the way that they were supposed to. I just think Weber Grill. But what
it's a Weber Grill.
Yeah. But the way that they were supposed to.
Good grill.
Yeah. Then that's a big thing, especially for a team that didn't really do anything the way that they were supposed to or expected to last year. So, get a win over Kansas State and see how it goes. You're looking at a team right now that's a third of the way to bowl contention that last year just underwhelmed with a good quarterback in Noah Fafita and the best wide receiver potentially in the country.
Yep. So, having to replace a really, really good legendary player, and so far so good. I mean, Fafita, huge numbers the other night, 400 plus, 5 TDs, protecting the football. I think as you'll see, I feel like, especially as I was kind of going over this last night, I think there's like a solid 6 teams in like a top tier where you're talking titles. And then there's right now 3 teams in the bottom tier. And they're all fighting for who's going to finish at number 16 based on Mojo. And right now, Oklahoma State has the lead on that. And then there's the batch in the middle where it's the Arizonas, the Houstons, the Cincy's, the UCFs, even the Baylor's. I think Baylor's more in the upper tier. We'll get to that. But this Arizona, Houston, Cincinnati, I think that's an interesting group where somebody will emerge and be the surprise. Not like an ASU necessarily, but I do think Arizona's got a potential to be that. So on to the next bracket.
Real quick, if you look at those 8 logos, only one of them, if you look at, you would have thought, no way they're going to be on that second column. And that's K-State. All the other ones, not a surprise at all.
So on to the second bracket here. 8, we got KU. They lost this past weekend to Missouri. And you dive further into that. Definitely a game that was winnable, not without some controversy. Both sides can complain about the way calls were managed in that game. But Kansas certainly with an opportunity to go and get a late score and kind of almost put that one to bed, and they have a huge drop and just it got away from them. And Missouri really overwhelmed them ultimately in that game. So I dropped KU by a spot. I still think they're a dangerous team, but just vibes right now. They went from 7 to 8. That's not anything too bad, and I still would take them over the second column as of right now in most cases. Arizona State, after the loss to Mississippi State, dropping them 2. I don't think that was a horrific loss by any means. Again, you had the lead back after being down 17-0. You're able to grab the lead, and then you give up the big pass play, obviously, in a very tough environment. So I didn't want to really dock them too much, but I also wasn't just like, here's my preseason poll. Arizona State's number 1. Why? Because they won it last year, and because Sam Levitt's back. Well, yeah, but Jordan Tyson's back as well. Like, I get it, but like it just doesn't work that way. So I was never sold on them being like the automatic top spot. I do have to drop them a couple for right now, and it's as much about what others have done versus what they've done. So where they got to be at all the way at 7. And then Baylor, I moved them up a couple spots. SMU's a really nice win on the road. Double overtime. Sawyer Robertson's playing as well as anybody in the country. And this is, like I said, part power ranking in that I think if you're taking Baylor, you're going to take them over most of the teams below them on the list. So I got them at 6. But I'm eyeing them because I'm not just sold that. Like that SMU game was looking like a loss. I mean, they were very close to 0-2.
Where would they be in this list if they had lost?
If they had lost, I'd probably have them at like number 11 or so, something like that.
Really?
I mean, yeah, they'd be 0-2.
Yeah,
because if they went into this year.
Talk about Mojo.
The Mojo factor, yeah.
Baylor went into this year thinking that they could maybe be a playoff team if they did right, if they win the non-conference games and all that, and to lose the two toughest games back to back you've had non-conference in forever, with that's just not a good way to start a season.
Yeah, Baylor would be down in the dumps if they had lost to SMU, so they would be at least at like number 11. But based on the fact they got a big win and for all the things, top 25 win, first time in 4 years, road win, Power 5 win, Big 12 versus ACC win, in-state rival win. Like that was a big deal, and that turned around their fortunes versus what it would have felt like otherwise. So they get a little bit of a boost when you count the Mojo, which is why these are the Mojo rankings. And now let's get controversial.
Yep, Kim Coulter just blew away, and he's no longer. We have $100 gift cards.
Okay, well, sorry for you, Kim.
I told him to turn the channel.
If they win this weekend, they'll shoot right back up. This is not you were here last week and you won, so you stay here this week. That's not how this works. This is fluid. And this is less about Texas Tech as much as it is about the 4 teams in front of them and how I feel about those 4 teams. Now, I just said a second ago, I think there's like the bottom 3 that are a very clear bottom 3. I think there's like the middle, or there's like the top 6 to 7, and I'd probably say maybe even 8 based on looking at it the way I am right now. And Tech is firmly in that 8, if not in the top 5. But I just need to see them play somebody. Like they look really, really good. They've handled their business. They've left no doubts about they have been the better team. They're blowing teams out. This week, Oregon State should be a little bit of a step up in competition, even though they're 0-2 themselves. And then look, in 2 weeks, we'll know what's what. In 2 weeks, we're going to see the real damn deal, Utah and Texas Tech coming up. So they could be at number 1 in no time. But this is less about them and how they played. It's more about who they played versus who everybody else has played right now. So if this was a power ranking, I'm sure based on offseason recruiting and everything, people have them at number 1 or number 2. But based on the fact they beat a couple teams by a lot compared to what some other teams have done, I'm going to put Tech at 5, and we'll see what happens this weekend.
By the same metric, they're doing it even better than Arizona. Look, remember last year at the beginning of the year, Tech didn't exactly do what they were supposed to do. They had the scare against ACU. They had all these things. When you go out and beat Pine Bluff and Kent State, 67-7 and 62-14, you're supposed to do that. That's the sign of a team that's gotten better.
Yes.
But I agree with you, Craig. Like, let's see who they are in a couple of weeks. I agree with where you have Kansas. That's a team that could be dangerous, but Lance Leipold, and I'm sure he's like, this is what keeps him up at night. He has got to establish some sort of defense so that they are not always playing in shootouts.
Yeah.
Because you have 21-6 on the road against a rival, and then that just kind of after the first quarter, and that melted away, and then it was no longer your game.
It hasn't Baylor been in 2 shootouts too?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not talking about them right now. I'm talking about Kansas.
Among those 4 schools, though.
But yeah, so like they've got to find a way to win a game that's not a shootout. Same with Baylor. Yes, but they've got to find a way to not do that. Now, Baylor has won games in the past that are not shootouts. So I have more faith in Dave Aranda to figure that out than I do right now in Lance Leipold and his team, because that's kind of how they've been, is they've got to get in the shootouts. Now, nobody wants to do it more than Lance. So.
No,
look,
absolutely.
Man, yeah, Baylor's been in shootouts. They just won one of them, top 25 on the road in double overtime. Yep. Kansas hasn't done that. So, I don't care if they've both been in similar styles of games. One of them won a game like that was important. So now the top 4. And let's get into the top 4 here. BYU jumps up a couple spots, and I know there'll be the big complaint about, well, why did they jump over Tech with a win? They beat Stanford, and I know that Stanford's not the greatest program right now. I know they're going to finish towards the bottom of the ACC. I'd still take them over Arkansas Pine Bluff and over Kent State, okay? So that's kind of – I feel like there's not – through 2 games especially, there's not a lot that you can separate teams with. besides wins and losses and kind of the way you look. So I don't view this as like BYU so much better than Texas Tech. I view this as they have a better win right now. They both feel great about where they are. I definitely default to Tech on more of the proven at this point as far as the offense goes, because I think there's still some question marks about Bachmeier and what he can actually do when the ball's in his hands versus Baron Morton, who's got so much experience. So I think both teams still have questions, but BYU was just surging like against Stanford, had some struggles offensively, but their defense is really, really good. And so I'm putting them at number 4, and the vibes are pretty immaculate right now for the Cougars, but also for the Red Raiders and really everybody in this top 5 right now. TCU at 3, I almost debated knocking them to 5 because they did not play this past week. And I didn't do that because ultimately I'm like, well, that's going to get kind of too complicated, but I almost did that just based on Mojo. You're not playing this week, so it feels like you're sort of sitting still. But I also didn't want to penalize them for that without like a real big reason to do so. I think TCU is one of the better teams in the league. I think they're a championship contender. Josh Hoover's pretty great, and I have them at 3 after their win over North Carolina. 2 and 1 stay the exact same. Utah look like a buzzsaw once again. Texas Tech and Utah in 2 weeks is going to be freaking awesome. And then Iowa State, they don't have the number 1 strength of schedule in the country, but they're near the top, and they've handled their business, beating 2 of their biggest rivals, and had to do it by the skin of their teeth. But that was a big win in Ames for them, and I can't imagine anybody's feeling better than Matt Campbell and company through 3 weeks. So that's why they are on top. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think all feel great. 6 through like 11, 12, maybe even 13. You're kind of like it could go either way. And then the bottom 3, they're in a bad spot right now.
Yeah, Utah has the blowout when they beat Cal Poly. You don't get much for that. But even though UCLA is a mess, they still dominated them to open the year.
Yeah. How many other teams in the country would, to start the season no less, play their 2 biggest rivals in the first 3 weeks?
No, it's just the way the schedule,
Yeah. And so to be able to handle that and handle those 2 tough games, and Cyhawk went there must be a law in Iowa that you guys can't score a combined 40 points in this game, or everybody's
40.
Yeah, a combined 40. If they had a combined 40, everybody's property taxes go up.
Yeah, because it was 29. It was a shootout.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it's that, they can't. They're not allowed to do that. BYU is interesting. Here's a stat. I read a column today on ESPN.com. They were grading the 4 true freshman quarterbacks who have started the season, which is Bryce Underwood, Jaron Kiawe Sagapulete.
From Cal?
Yes.
Jaron Kiawe
Sagapulete, thank you. Malik Washington and Bear Bachmeier. The only one of them who has a loss is Bryce Underwood. And now, granted, he played against Oklahoma. That's a better team than any of the rest of them played, but still a nice little stat for a true freshman quarterback to start out. And all 4 of them have looked better than true freshmen, at times. So, but Bear Bachmeier, I'm excited to see him. Craig, I totally agree with you on TCU. They are scary as hell. They Andy Avalos, second year of the defense, looks really good. They can run the ball.
You got speed
now.
to burn.
They've got wide receivers all over the place. Josh Hoover's in his bag. And, I was a Devin Dampier stan before there were Devin Dampier stans.
That's worked out well. You thought it would, and it has so far. I mean, we'll see. But through 2 games, Utah looks like they're back, so to speak. And, I think it's a really fun race shaping up. I mean, we're going to get some clarity to some degree here in a couple of weeks when we start to get the Utah Texas Tech type games. But and we've had some with Iowa State, Kansas State, for example. But I think the top is going to be a really fun race. And as I said on Twitter a couple of I guess it was last weekend, I think the race to the bottom's actually as entertaining as the race to the top.
Well,
because
a
it
lot of
almost
yellow,
feels like
a lot of red.
They're trying to outdo each other to see who can have the worst possible season.
The best chat room comment from Bracket Cat, who's a miserable K-State fan. Not but the fact. No, he said K-State was the only – this is when you only had 13 through 16. K-State was the only team not to move this week. Awesome. It's almost like we won something. So,
hey, I debated, and they were at one point looking like, I think I got to drop. They lost again. And I was like, no, that Oklahoma State loss was just too bad. I mean, that was just too ugly, and just the again vibes taken into account. Oklahoma State's definitely a clear number 16 right now, and a lot of their fans already starting to look at, like I said, a Zach Robinson from the Falcons, their former quarterback, as a replacement. And Brett McMurphy said it, like, let's see. It's early on, right? Gundy could reel off some wins. It's just highly unlikely that they do based on what we've seen. So this will fluctuate, and hope you enjoy it. And it's just fun to kind of give my opinions, and I appreciate yours as well. So bring it.
It's not power rankings. It's got a little bit of mix of everything, but it's who's got the mojo at the moment. By the way, Kim Coulter, Texas Tech fan, he gave the thumbs up.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah,
Thumbs up.
I think he disappeared.
Never mind.
He's
guns down.
He goes, I'm expecting nothing less.
Hey, you just wait. You just wait till they beat Utah and I drop them a spot.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes.
All right. Coming up, former Texas Tulane, and he also, of course, was at Iowa. Phenomenal offensive coordinator when Mac was winning conference championships and a national championship. Greg Davis will kind of give us his critique of some of the college quarterbacks that are getting attention. He's next, and then the voice of Texas A&M Athletics and Andrew Monaco, plus the top 5 and the quizzes and the poll results. This is 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco. I bring them up because when we mentioned Kim a lot, he's also a sponsor with North Star Funding Partners, but he had to go get an MRI when he was back in Arizona. He's had back problems for a couple of 2 or 3 weeks that haven't been good at all. And he said, I wish I could get the MRI, the Ideal MRI in the Waco area, which, of course, $497 or less. But it's not like, it's pretty cheap, right? No. Their state-of-the-art imaging machine is like no other either. It's just fantastic. I've been in it. I've experienced it. Great Texan specialist, and you can too. For $497, it's worth driving in from Houston or anywhere around the state of Texas. Maybe El Paso's a little bit too far, but they will get you the results your doctor and you need, the images you need, the evidence you need to understand what is hurting you and how to maybe move forward with treatment or more. It's IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved, learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com. This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
He played at Port Neches Groves, also McNeese State, the quarterback position, went on to be an assistant coach at many places, including A&M, Arkansas, Georgia, North Carolina, UT, and then also Iowa. And Greg Davis joins us now on 365 Sports with Craig and Paul, David Smoak. And Coach, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. I spoke with you earlier today about looking at some of the quarterbacks around the country and what you've seen. And there's some that get more attention, of course, than others. And thank you for your time. How you been, by the way?
I've been fine, David. I appreciate the opportunity to come on with you guys. I appreciate what you do talking about college sports.
Well, we appreciate you. Mac has been on with us a couple of different times. He was in town earlier, back in late August for a luncheon here in Waco. So I'll throw out a name or two, and then, and of course, there may be some that you want to add to the mix. But what are your thoughts about what you see in Garrett Nussmeier at LSU?
Very impressed with Garrett. He's obviously a smart guy. He's tough. He'll stand in the pocket and take a hit to deliver the ball. I think he's got good arm strength, and very, very, very impressed. He would have been high on my list.
Greg, the transfer portal has reshuffled the deck in a way that, nobody could have really seen how it would affect in the way it would work out because there was no real plan to it. But it's been beneficial for a lot of quarterbacks. Now, a lot of guys on their third school, it's not that great, but Tommy Castellanos at FSU seems to have fallen into a program, a situation offensively that suits him. What have you thought about his performance in Gus Malzahn's system and how the Seminoles have looked through the first 2 weeks?
I've been very impressed. I watched their first game all the way through. And, of course, Gus does a great job. I've known Gus for quite a while. And he does a great job. And the thing about what Gus does and what he's doing at Florida State is a great mixture of run pass and the ability to throw the ball off the run game. And I did not watch their second ball game, but I was extremely impressed with them against Alabama.
Felt like vintage Gus, didn't it? Just seeing him being able to kind of have the more carefree attitude of being able to focus just on the offense and not the entire program. It's almost like a weight lifted off his shoulders.
He looked 10 years younger to me.
Absolutely. Coach, when you look at the Arch Manning start down at Texas, obviously we got a little taste of him last year, and everybody knows how overmodulated the conversation and sometimes unrealistic the expectations are. But what did you kind of think about his situation rolling into this year, and what have been your impressions and maybe getting some eyes on him more through these first couple of weeks?
First of all, let me say this. I think Arch will be fine. I think everybody needs to take a little bit of a chill pill. I spoke with a couple of sports writers before the season, and they said, well, he's Archie's grandson. Eli and Peyton are great, pros. I said, he's been a Manning all his life. He's dealt with that since birth. I hurt for him against Ohio State because I know how hard it is to win up there. And I'm glad he bounced back and looked like himself. The thing that Arch can do other than, make all the throws, he's got a lot more athletic ability than either Peyton or Eli had in terms of being able to take a bad play and go get a first down. So, I think Sark will do a great job with him. I think he'll be just fine.
Did you notice? And first of all, Ohio State's really good, and that the strength of their team was back on defense with some of the All-Americans they have. Did you when you watched that game progress? One, the opponent was fantastic, but do you feel like they were a little tentative in what they were trying to do against the defense that they weren't sure they were going to see with Matt Patricia?
You would have to be. One of the things that coaches hate is playing somebody early that was not there the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up saying, okay, what did he do with the Patriots? What did he do with the Lions when he was the head coach? And you're really guessing. And I thought going into the ball game, I told some friends that I expected it to be a low scoring game because I thought both teams would just kind of trade punches, try not to lose the game early. And I think that's what happened. They were both kind of filling each other out. Two really good defenses on the field at the same time. And so I think it was more of that than being tentative. I think both teams were trying to be smart.
We just talked about it in our last segment. There's 4 true freshman quarterbacks that started the season, and all of them have looked relatively good. What would it have had, what kind of a player would they have had to be when you were coaching for you to say, true freshman, you're going? Because that's something relatively new to college football. You had to be a superstar to start as a true freshman.
Very unusual. I did it for over 40 years, and I can't remember starting a true freshman in the first ball game of the year. But you had guys. You mentioned the portal. I mean, you had guys that had been in your program. Vince Young, when we were recruiting Vince Young, his mother asked me, what do you think? I said, the best thing for Vince to do is redshirt. And I think it was the best thing for it to do. And he went on to have an outstanding career. At the same time, I do think guys are coming out of high school more ready to play because of all the 7-on-7. More high schools are throwing the ball. It wasn't too long ago you could drive around Texas on a Friday night and you could see, a wishbone at this stadium, a split back veer at this stadium, maybe even a wing tee at a couple places. But people are throwing the ball so much more now. I think kids are coming out of high school better prepared for what they're going to see at the college level.
Greg, we had Mac on. I mentioned that just 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's told the story. And you guys, obviously, you mentioned Vince Young, who might be the single greatest player that, the 2005 season, but how he all of a sudden just clicked and got it. What was the conversation you guys had with him when you could see it, you could feel it, but sometimes it wasn't quite clicking yet?
Well, Vince was a very, very prideful, obviously a tremendous athlete and a great quarterback. But we used to chart, all the throws and everything in practice. And it was amazing how much better he did early when we were on the practice field as opposed to going to DKR and scrimmages. I'm not talking about against the opponent. I'm talking about scrimmages.
Mm-hmm.
He was just so much more comfortable on the practice field. And about his second or third game, he was struggling a little bit, and we got our video guy to cut out some TV shots and some TV analysts, what they were saying, and we played it to him, oh my gosh, what a throw from one sideline to the other sideline. There's not many guys that can do that. Oh, what a great decision. He pulled the ball down, went and got a first down, kept the drive alive. And I said, Vince, everybody believes in you, but I'm not sure you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need to relax and be yourself. And, Vince taught me a lot. I was of the school that, from Friday at about 3 o'clock until after the ball game on Saturday, you didn't smile. You didn't, it was all business. And Vince was much looser, and our team rallied around that. And, his ability to turn it on at the right time. We're at the national championship game, and he's out there and he's dancing on the field as we're loosening up. I'm about to bite a hole in my jaw, and he's, Coach, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And, he was, it was at that point, I think, 3 or 4 games in when he just said, okay, I'm just going to relax and be myself.
How much do you have to be a psychologist as a QB coach? Because you are it's not group therapy during the game, right? You can bring the other guys over. Wide receivers, running backs, offensive linemen, they all have other guys that they can say, hey, can you help me out with this? Can you hey, make sure I see this? The quarterback, it's all on him. And you have to sit there and talk him through these things and make sure he's not too high or too low. What is that aspect of the job like?
It's a big part of the job. And the ability to understand it's very similar to raising kids. There's some guys that you can just get all over them, and they'll take out the point that you were making and forget the volume. There's other guys that you just need to talk to and say, I'm really disappointed in that decision. And that's like whipping them with a cane. And, part of it is learning, how each kid is. I remember in the national championship game, in the fourth quarter, and they'd gone up, and I looked down from the box, and Vince was sitting on the sideline. And I told our coach, I said, put Vince on the phone. And he got on the phone. I said, are you okay? He said, yeah, I'm fine, Coach. I'm mad. I said, well, you don't look fine. Get your butt up and get up and down the sideline and tell everybody we're going to win this game. And he did. And, but, it would have been hard to tell him that when he was a freshman. He wouldn't have quite understood how to handle that. But, it's all a part of it. And the biggest part is getting to know the player and what works for him.
Coach, you coached in the Big 12 and a very fun time period. Leach and his string of quarterbacks were doing great things. Oklahoma had huge moments. Gundy in Oklahoma State, so on and so forth. There's a pretty good batch right now. I don't know how much you've been able to get your eyes on the league or know about the current crop of quarterbacks, but do you know much about a Sawyer Robertson at Baylor, a Josh Hoover at TCU, an Avery Johnson at K-State? And if so, anybody stand out to you for one reason?
Yeah.
What?
Rocco Beck
at Iowa State.
At Iowa State.
Yes, sir. Does anybody stand out to
all.
you?
I've seen them all, and I think that it's obvious they're all the guy for their team. Iowa State, Rocco was playing Iowa this past week. I watched every snap of it, and that's not an easy game. It was both teams play really good defense, and the ability to keep your poise. Sawyer Robinson at Baylor. Wow, I watched the TCU ball game the other night, and the SMU game the other night, and what a job he did. They were down early. The SMU quarterback was lighting it up too.
Yep.
And just to bring his team back. And I think he threw 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So he's done a heck of a job. Hoover at TCU, he's in the Brawl system, and they do a great job with quarterbacks and stretching the field and make you play both vertically and horizontally, and been impressed with him. So I think the Big 12 has several good players. Saw Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you guys. So I've got YouTube TV. I tape every ball game, college and pro, and on Monday morning after I do my little chores around the house, I tell my wife I'm going to work. I go upstairs and I watch football. And she says, "Will you be home by 5?" And I said, "I hope to be." Depends on the traffic, So, so yeah, I still enjoy the game, enjoy watching the guys, and I think the Big 12 has a great group of players.
I have to ask you this about your time at Iowa, and then that team was it 2015 when you were there? They were 12-2, scored a ton of points. Obviously, Kirk Ferentz's teams have played great defense, including the game you mentioned with Iowa State. But there's always been that thought. It's like a team that runs an offense that's their air raid or whatever. Can a defense be good in a system or a team like that? But you put up numbers that year because the rap is that they don't allow that. Bethard was your quarterback. That seemed to be a year when Iowa put up as many numbers as anybody else.
Yeah, CJ. In fact, I think he had been cut by Jacksonville. I think he's back on the team in Jacksonville. He was, he was a guy that could really spin it, and I guess he's probably been in pro ball, 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk was a fantastic football coach, and when CJ was there, he did not mind us, throwing it and pitching it around, but he wants to be good on defense, which they've been for a number of years, and he wants to be able to run the ball. And part of the reason he wants to be able to run the ball is you never know in the Big Ten, you may play in snow, and so you would like to be able to run the ball. He wants a physical football team, and but no, it's not that he's opposed to doing those things we did with CJ. It's just you got to have a guy that can do those things.
Greg Davis with us, former Texas offensive coordinator, was with Mack at Tulane, took over as head coach, also at Iowa, among other places as well. Craig brought up Sawyer Robertson. I want to get back to the fact he can run. He hasn't had to take off much, but he can. I'm sure they're probably telling him to be smart, as any coach would do. But he seems to have the mentality that players follow him, which is what you want in a quarterback. Do you see the ability with what you've seen so far for him to be a guy that plays on Sundays?
As a fan, just watching, I would say yes. I think, when I was watching his ball game against SMU, there's a couple of things you look for that are things that not everybody can do. Not every quarterback can throw the ball from different platforms. Not every quarterback can throw the ball accurately without having to step into it. Not every quarterback can drop his arm down and throw from a different slot. I think he can do those things. I think he showed in that ball game he threw a touchdown pass with a guy right in his face. That tells me that he's tough and he's focused, and he's looking downfield. He's not worried about the rush. And then when you add the ability to make some first downs, it's unbelievable to a defense what happens when everybody is covered. There's no place to go with the ball, and the guy scrambles out and makes a first down. I tell you guys, you guys love football. I'm in Iowa. We're playing Ohio State, and J.T. Barrett is their quarterback. And Bobby Kennedy, who was with me at Texas, is our receiver coach. We got him on 3rd and 12, and he drops back. There is not a soul open. They are blanketed. And he runs around, makes a linebacker miss, and makes 15 yards for a first down. And I hear Bobby Kennedy on the headset says, must be what it was like to play against them.
Yeah.
And, it just, you do everything right, and the guy goes and gets you a fresh set of downs. And they don't have to do it all the time, but the ability to do it. And then you start, stay in your rush lanes and okay, we're going to spy somebody. And the defense starts having to make adjustments because, hey, this guy can beat us with his legs also.
Who was your quarterback recruiting wise that you always felt was the one that got away?
Well, I recruited Eli, and Eli and Chris Sims were coming out the same year, and we were, I think we were 1-2, 2-1 with both of those young guys, and they both knew each other through all the camps and all the recruiting, and they both knew each other. Eli came to visit, and we were playing Oklahoma State, and Major threw for like 410 yards in the ball game. And I'm thinking, as I'm coming down, we're going to take Archie and Olivia and go over to Mac's house. I'm thinking, this could not have been any better. I mean, this was perfect. I mean, a guy comes in, he wants to throw the ball. We rip it up and down the field, and it was a great visit. I think that he had a wonderful time, and I think David Cutcliffe was the difference. Mm-hmm. I think David had coached Eli at Tennessee, and if David would have stayed at Tennessee, I think Eli probably would have come to Texas. That's just my guess. But the fact that he had gone over as the head coach at Ole Miss, and of course Archie had played there, so that one was one. Now, when we lost him, we did not have Sims. We eventually got Sims. So would Chris have come if I had committed to us, or who knows? Mm-hmm. Recruiting is a little bit of a game of marbles. You're not sure what all happens, and to make a kid choose your school or whatever. But he was a big name guy that that we had worked on, and that would probably be the one. I mean, all the way back, recruiting has changed so much from the time I got in 1978 at Texas A&M, and I was working on Gary Kubiak, and until the end. And thank goodness I retired right before the portal, because I'm afraid that would have driven me crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, that would probably be the biggest name guy that got away.
We, Greg, if you don't mind, would like to get you on again down the road. Appreciate your time. Phil Bennett contacted me. I was asking him about somebody he thought of that could help analyze some of the quarterbacks. If you don't mind, we'll be back in touch with you again.
Hey, my pleasure. There's, between Bluebell ice cream and talking about quarterbacks, I'm pretty happy.
There you go. Absolutely true. That's Greg Davis, a longtime college football coach, part of that great run at Texas with Mac Brown. On a couple of nuggets about Vince Young and more. When we come back, We will hear and talk A&M football with Andrew Monaco with their game in South Bend. This is 365 Sports.
Logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
The voice of A&M Athletics, Andrew Monaco, joins us, and appreciate your patience, Andrew. Thanks for being a part of the show. Appreciate it. We had some stats earlier about A&M non-conference games on the road, ranked teams or not. And the history's not good. And there's a lot of teams that don't win many games like that on the road. But is it time? Is this the team that has a chance to pop this, even though we know Notre Dame's pretty good?
Yeah, Notre Dame is very good. And I think it is under Mike Elko. What always impresses me about Mike is with all of his teams, when he's there a second year, I absolutely love the steps that they take and get better in year number 2. Not that they're bad in year number 1. That's just having the Mike Elko influence and what they've all learned, and now they are able to share with one another. He retains an awful lot of players. They don't leave. They like playing under Mike and his coaches. And yes, this is an opportunity, a team they're familiar with, a team that last year came into Kyle Field and won. And can the Aggies return that favor at Notre Dame on Saturday? We'll certainly see. A lot of similarities, but some things that are different and some things that Notre Dame's going to see that they didn't see last year. More explosive wide receivers. They're going to see Marcel Reed at quarterback. They didn't see Marcel last year. It was Connor Wigman. But they're also going to see some familiar faces, a lot of familiar faces on that defense, and they're going to see that same offensive line that they saw last year as well.
Andrew, through the first couple games, and again, kind of difficult to tell, just because they haven't played that this is their toughest game so far, but UTSA came right at them and wasn't afraid. And they responded to maybe like, oh, hey, these guys are serious pretty well in that game. It looks to me that the biggest change on offense is they feel comfortable passing and running the ball and doing whichever one most can win the game for them. As we're towards the end of the year last year, it was kind of a, we'll just see. Like, let's it's like Indiana Jones. Like, can you jump over the thing or not? Right.
It's a great point. Yeah. And I think that's where Marcel has really developed, or is still developing. I don't think it's past tense. I think it's still going on with all quarterbacks, how he is maturing as a quarterback. What is the defense going to give him? And I'm with you. I thought in week number 1, UTSA was going to take away Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens and that running game for Texas A&M. What they forgot was the explosiveness of Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver. Look, we didn't even know that. We had seen Mario Craver against Texas A&M the year before for Mississippi State, and Mike Elko had seen Casey Concepcion when he was at Duke as KC was playing, and he had to try to stop him at NC State. I think that was the difference, and you could see that speed was a difference, and you could see that I thought Texas A&M was able to wear down both of those schools in the first 2 weeks. Not so sure you can wear down Notre Dame. I just think it's still a line of scrimmage game. It's almost like conference game number 1 for Texas A&M, even though they have a bye and then they take on Auburn. I'd like to see A&M get that running game established to make it easier for Marcel. But he is a better thrower, and you saw him throw some wide receivers open. You saw them go over the top, and I'll be very interested now to see how he reacts playing for what we are suspecting will be a man-to-man coverage, and they've got a secondary that can certainly do that. They've got guys on the defensive line that can certainly get to Marcel Reed, and they've got outstanding linebackers as well. It's going to be a challenge for sure. And I thought Al Golden's defense last year, 4 years together, you could see that togetherness by that Notre Dame defense last year. I know Chris Ash is the DC, but it's a lot of those same players. They sure play well together, and that's what the Aggies are going to have. One of many things they're going to have to face on Saturday.
You mentioned a couple of the names there, Concepcion, Craver. How are you feeling about the skill position? Seems like so far so good, but just the total package, what most stands out and maybe what, if anything, leaves a little bit to be desired or just uncertain still at the moment?
For me, that wide receiver group might be the best since I've been here. And they've had some good receivers, but I don't think they've had the playmakers and the game breakers that they have in Concepcion and Craver. And I don't want to leave out Ashton Bethel-Roman as well. He's one of those guys who got an awful lot of feel in that first year as a freshman. Terry Bussey as well was a freshman last year, and he was all over the place. He was, receiver, and then when they were down running backs, they would get the ball to him as a running back. And I also like the explosiveness in their return game, both punt and kick return. And I really think you're going to force Notre Dame to have to decide, are you going to kick to Terry Bussey on the kickoff? Are you going to kick to Casey Concepcion on the punt? Because they have been explosive, and that has set up Texas A&M for some drives. The first touchdown of the year was a Casey Concepcion punt return for a touchdown. I think this offensive line has to really establish some dominance. I think it has a ways to get better. I'm hoping that it's very similar to the year they were a Joe Moore Award finalist. They really didn't come together until Florida, when they beat Florida 41-38. And I think specifically on a 4th and 2, when the play call came in that it was going to be a handoff to Isaiah Spiller, they blocked. Isaiah 19 yards later was in the end zone. I don't think they can wait, though, that long into this season. I think that offensive line has got to establish some kind of running game. Now, they have given Marcel time, and I think he is trusting that offensive line and obviously trusting that arm. He was never skitterish, but it was, okay, I don't have it. I'm going to get out and run. I think he's understanding the value of staying in that pocket, going through the progression, and then as that last option, being very smart when he does run the ball.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because when he came in last year, he came in, had a nice start, threw a deep ball. I forgot, over the middle. But I always wondered about his vision because he's not, the prototypical quarterback, but he does find space. And it seemed like he's more comfortable with that now.
Yeah, I think he is. And I think that's the second year with Colin Klein. I think there's that development as well, where you have now 2 sets of eyes looking, and what are you seeing? And then at a certain point, to me, it's almost like the point guard and the head coach, that quarterback and that offensive coordinator. Now Marcel has to see it on his own and say, I've got this, whether that will be what he identifies and changes a play at the line of scrimmage. But it's funny because throughout this recruiting season, there was And even the offseason, well, can Marcel throw it? And he helped recruit Casey Concepcion here, and he helped recruit Mario Craver. And what they said when they were visiting and they were throwing to one another in the practice facility was, hey, he can really spin it. And I think there's now that trust. I love the touchdowns to interceptions, and I give him a lot of credit. He's never really thrown a lot of interceptions in his career, but he's going to make the right decisions. And are there times when he isn't? Yeah, that's going to come. Or, hey, I can get that ball in that window, and he's going to have to identify some things on the fly. But I think what Mike Elko said early is, I think, really interesting. He now knows what it takes to be a starting quarterback in the SEC. We kind of forget that. And all that goes with that, not just knowing the plays, it's that leadership in the huddle, at the line, making the right decisions, off the field as well. Like I think he's got that makeup, and this team flat out plays for him. But we kind of forget what that's like, because it's a completely different responsibility from being the number 4 quarterback in your first year and then coming in after the first play of a bowl game and just letting it fly, because guess what? There's nobody else.
Yep.
To earning the backup role last year, everybody was surprised, and then taking over. Now he's had the entire offseason to make himself better and make him more of a leader.
Are you concerned a little bit about how the run defense has been, given that they are going to play a team in Notre Dame that's going to go right at them?
I think they're going to exactly go right at him. In fact, I thought it was the Jeremiah Love last year that helped put that game away. It was the big run. Now, my coach Elko said after Utah State, he thought everything was firmer and a little more solid, but they still gave up some big plays. And this is what I've often thought. Against certain teams, that might be 15, 20 yards. Against other teams, the band's playing, right? They're sailing into the end zone. That's just the way it is, and it's going to have to be even firmer. Now, Mike looked at the tape after week 1. He really loved what TJ Searcy did. We as fans will look, how many sacks did he have? He really liked how he played against the run and thought he was really good at the point of attack. It can't be just TJ Searcy. It's going to have to be Albert Regis, and it's going to have to be Tyler Onyedim, and it's going to have to be DJ Hicks. We saw what Cassius Howe did on that end. You guys know, if that D-line does their job, guess what? Torian York can make another double-digit tackles, because he's going to be able to. But they all have to be in that position, because I'm with you. I think Notre Dame is going to try to impose their will with the running game and try to make it as easy as possible for CJ Carr. Conversely, I think CJ Carr is going to see some things he didn't even see against Miami. And I think there's going to be some things that this Mike Elko defense didn't show in the first 2 weeks against UTSA and Utah State. There's going to be some pressure coming. He's not going to know where it's coming from. To me, it's a fascinating chess match.
Again, Andrew Monaco, South Bend, Indiana. When they played Notre Dame last year, I asked you, had you done a game there at all in your broadcast career at South Bend? I can't remember your answer, to be honest.
No,
okay.
I can't wait to get on the plane. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
and land there. The history and the tradition. Are you kidding? Oh. We've talked about this, right? Bucket list places. South Bend's one of them. Is it not? I mean, it's just, I'm so looking forward. And then the atmosphere. I'm probably going to spend as much time as I can Saturday afternoon on campus, and then to be there at night. I think it's going to be something special.
I visited there. It's been about 8 to 10 years ago for a women's basketball tournament at Notre Dame when Baylor was playing there. And I got there a day the women played, and then that next day I walked all over the campus, went inside the stadium. The guy let me in the gate. The Newt Rockney's grave, which is a few minutes away from the campus, but it was also kind of a wintry kind of a day, which was because it was in March. It was perfect. The pavilion or the basketball arena, have fun with that, man, because there's stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's funny that you say that, because when you think about Notre Dame Stadium, you don't think sun-splashed, right? You're thinking it's going to be cloudy. There might be a chance of sleet. There might football weather, right? That's exactly what you think about. Yeah, I also can't help but think like this. Like when you come into play at Texas A&M and all the places. If it's Baylor, you want to play in the Big 12. If it's Texas, also now the SEC. Texas A&M in the SEC. Also, I think games like this is why you sign up and say, I want to play at this school. Look, we've circled this home and home for a while. It's been in the works for a while. Now it is here. But I think if you are a student athlete, I think this is also something special that you get to play at Notre Dame over the course of your college career.
Yep. Hey, Andrew, have a great call. Great trip. Enjoy the memories and all of the history and tradition. I know you will. Of course, there's Touchdown Jesus and all that too, which is pretty intimidating, by the way, and enjoy all that. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for having me. Wonderful talking to you.
You too. Andrew Monaco, enjoy his thoughts about A&M and Notre Dame, one of the better bangers. There's 3 of them this week, Tennessee, Georgia, that game, and I guess Miami and USF is the other banger among top 25 teams playing each other this weekend. All right. When we come back, Paul Catalina and his top 5 returns. We'll have Andrew Valade's poll results and the quiz. The quizzes. And by the way, we're going to all talk amongst ourselves on the air and then have one answer rather than all of us just throwing something out there. This is 365 Sports.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Guess who's back? Back again. Paulie's back. Tell a friend. It's the Top 5 brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Use our promo code 365 sports at checkout for a discount. Hey, 2 whole games are in the books. Let's talk hot seats. And look, we do it a little differently here. We grade up the scale of, these are all pretty hot, but where they are right now and where they could progress to. We'll do this a couple times throughout the season. Number 5, prescription strength deodorant. Look, you're sweating a lot. You got to go to the doctor and say, Doc, I'm pitting out like crazy. You got to give me some of that stuff with extra aluminum in it because it's all showing through. Tony Elliott at Virginia lost to NC State last week. Not the look they wanted to start the season, especially since they're paying over $1 million for quarterback Chandler Morris, a journeyman, to say the least, to come in and help them win. That's not going to work out well for Tony Elliott unless the Who's get it turned around. And yes, I said the Who's and not the Cavs because for whatever reason, that's what they say there. I don't know. Didn't go to Virginia. It is what it is. Number 4, is the AC broken? Brent Pry, right now, he's trying to run that thing on 60, 58 degrees because it is feeling hot in Blacksburg for him. They're just so blah, and that's not what they want. What kind of players are they getting? What's the roster like? They're just stuck. Also, it did not do him any favors that he lost a game to the son of their most legendary coach to start the season. Shane Beamer winning that game, it's just going to sting a little bit more. When the South Carolina quarterback goes and hands the ball to Frank Beamer, that is something that we burned in the hokey headspace until Brent Pry is not there anymore. Number 3, does anyone else smell that? Deshaun Foster. Maybe the least equipped head coach at the Power 4 level. After the Utah game where they got splattered like a bug on a windshield, he said he liked where they were at. The Nico Iamaleava situation was not a great look for either side, and clearly looks like at least some minor impropriety was going on there, the way it all went down. And he lost that trade so far. Joey Aguilar's looked fantastic for the Vols so far. Not to mention his whole weird media policy. He just doesn't seem like he gets it. And look, it's the Big Ten. They're getting a bunch of money. Now, they have to send a little bit of it over to Cal, but that's not really that big of a deal. They should be on the stage in a much bigger way. But UCLA is kind of like the UNC of the Pac-12, Big Ten, like that. Like, they should be better, but they're ultimately just a basketball school when it all comes down to it for now. Number 2, the slow burn has gotten faster. This one was a slow burn, but Mike Gundy lost a game 69-3 to Oregon. That's fine for a coach who's in his first year, but a coach who's in his 21st year playing against a coach who makes the same kind of money that he does, they are not paying Mike Gundy the money he makes to lose games by 66 points. They are paying him that kind of money to be on the same level as Oregon. Now, make all the excuses for the reasons why that is or isn't that you can. The bottom line is Mike Gundy's got a high salary, and those guys are not supposed to lose 69-3 to anyone. He shouldn't have lost 69-3 if he was playing the Eagles. That should just not happen. That was an embarrassment to the next level, and the clock is ticking louder and louder on Mike Gundy. And number 1, honey, call the realtor, Billy Napier. LSU, A&M, Miami coming up on the schedule, not to mention the cocktail party against Georgia after he lost at home to USF. Let me give you a little history lesson. Back a few years ago, Bobby Bowden was still the coach at Florida State, and they lost at home to Jim Leavitt and USF. And Jim Leavitt said, this is the biggest game in the history of our school. And he was right. And guess what happened shortly after that? Bobby Bowden got retired, and Jimbo Fisher took over. Well, Billy Napier is no Bobby Bowden. And the Gators are 20-20 over his time there. They're paying him a lot of money, just like Mike Gundy. A little less than Mike Gundy, but still a lot of money. And let's not forget that Todd Golden's Title IX investigation probably gave him the 2 weeks of cover he needed last year to avoid getting fired then. Nothing has changed. He's got a quarterback that's very highly thought of, that's looked really rusty in the early going because he didn't practice a lot, coming off of injuries in the spring and the early part of fall camp. So DJ Lagway's got to get going, and he's got to get going against one of the better defenses in the country this week against LSU. Not an easy task. I've said on this show many times, Billy Napier was either going to get a contract extension by October 1st or fired by October 1st. And I was giving them the benefit of the doubt that they might steal one of these big ones from Miami or LSU or Georgia or A&M. And maybe they still will. I don't think that happens. I don't think his job is safe. Florida has been in a bad way about hiring coaches since Urban Meyer left, and Billy Napier's not getting it done. And I can't even begin to tell you the candidates that I think for this job because I have no idea where they're going to go. They've tried every which way to make this thing better, but I think the clock, it's not ticking. It's over. It's moved out of his office. He doesn't have a clock. He is just waiting for the axe to fall now because Billy Napier showed what he can do in Gainesville. The basketball program, in spite of that Title IX investigation into Todd Golden, I don't think I need to tell you, is doing pretty good since they're the defending national champs. He's got no cover anymore. Billy Napier is on the chopping block. Make no mistake. That's going to do it for us. Andrew Villet's got information that we must disseminate promptly.
What we have now are quizzes, and we'll do these first, and all of us will discuss it amongst ourselves live. 1972, this wide receiver became the first player at his position to win the Heisman Trophy, and that will be Johnny Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
They threw Tim Brown in here. He's automatically
much later.
out. He's later. Cliff Branch was before 1972, so he's out.
And Swan was probably
that's
late 70s, part of those Steelers with Stallworth. But no, I mean, Swan didn't win the Heisman.
Yeah.
Brown did, Rodgers did, Cliff Branch did not.
You got to come harder than that.
Yeah, Craig, that was pretty easy for you?
Yeah, y'all just said everything I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. There he is. He was also, like a Tim Brown, like others, as a wide receiver, he also was a great punt returner. In fact, had the famous punt return against OU to win that game in 1971. All right, next one. I'll let you guys. Let's see. Highest paid player. Okay.
Well, knowing this, I know this one very easily. It is Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
I do believe it is Dak Prescott because I get to hear about how he makes more than all of these other guys, especially the one right above him who's got way more in his trophy case at this point. But yeah, I feel like I've heard 50 times this offseason, especially in light of the Micah Parsons trade, about how much money Dak Prescott's making.
Yeah, and I thought he looked good at the opening game after being out for the longest of time.
They looked good. For what the expectations were, I think that was a very acceptable loss in some ways.
I thought it was encouraging.
Encouraging is more of a word I was looking for.
You're talking about the Cowboys have an encouraging loss?
Yeah.
No, they're absolute hot garbage that's rolled in dog crap.
No, they're not.
No,
they're not going to be good.
No.
I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to be good.
Okay, first of all,
4-13.
They looked like they knew what the hell they were doing, had a rhyme and a reason, and as a game that, quite frankly, I thought they were going to steal because that's what they do. Had a chance, couldn't finish it.
They could not stop anything.
They did in the second half.
Yeah, but I mean, like
Paul,
again,
take it where you can get it, brother. Like they
be
could have got stomped.
Good.
You can't.
They did not look good.
The first half, the defense was trash. In the second half, the offense wasn't very
good. They didn't look good.
All right, Dak Prescott
didn't look good.
41% was the answer to that.
It's less about looking good, and it's more about they didn't look as bad as people expected. That was the thing.
Never look as bad as people expect. They look exactly how they do all the time. They do that.
Thank you very much. All right, okay. That's the answer. Now, what do we have? Poll results. Who should be Colorado's starting quarterback? I mentioned, I said Ryan Staub because after the game, that's kind of what they said. This is for all of us to discuss, but this is to give the answers, not from us, but from our viewers, and a dominant win for Ryan Staub.
Yeah, I think Ryan Staub needs to be the guy to at least start the game. I think we'll probably see at least one other quarterback. I would lean toward Caden Salter, maybe all three, depending on exactly what Staub does, because if he plays solid enough where they don't have to replace him, in like the first quarter or first half even, then I don't know that we'll see all three. But if he gets out there and it's not looking good, then obviously the bench could empty. But yeah, I think for Dion and for the team, the best thing to do, even if he's not really the best quarterback that you have, because Salter's just so out of whack and just not in a comfortable place right now, and Julian Lewis is still a freshman who's just not ready to be the man just yet. I do think starting Staub off, and that way, instead of if you don't start him and then you don't play well, it's like, well, we should have started Staub. Well, now you at least go, here's Staub, and he can win the job and hold on to it, or we're going to have to replace him, but at least you're going to see it for yourself, and at least he gets that opportunity. So I think that's the logical choice.
I think they play more than one quarterback in this game. Likely they're losing. I mean, yeah. I mean,
possibly, yeah.
I think that's going to be the case.
Depends on how much Houston's scoring,
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Like, I mean, is Dean Connors going crazy? Is Wegman throwing it around? Because he hasn't so far. But yeah, I mean, if they get into a shootout, then I think maybe you want Salter or somebody. I don't know, but just never thought we'd see this storyline. We thought we'd see Salter versus Lewis as a conversation, but didn't think we'd be into week 3.
No,
and we're going Ryan
no.
Staub starting over Lewis and Salter was not on my bingo card.
Especially as he mentioned, Salter and Lewis at Big 12 Media Days, and Staub wasn't even somebody's name in your brain. All right, so there we are. And what's most likely the outcome for Billy Napier at Florida? I said he would be fired after the season. Their schedule just gets worse. Who knows? Maybe they make a run like they did last year, but
he's I think there's missing a choice. I think he fired in 3 weeks. I think he's going to be gone in the middle.
What good does that do, though?
I don't think well, I mean, it gives you a start on who you're going to hire. You know how these things go. Like, if you know you're going to fire Billy Napier, they have very solid, like, he has kept his job in large part because the high school recruiting is pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, well, he recruited DJ Leck.
Yeah. And he is, but if they're going to keep losing games, then he's not going to keep that job. So they need to at least let the recruits know that somebody else is coming and they got to get a jump on it. So
maybe administration took the opportunity after this last game to talk to the other coach afterwards and at least start the process with Alex Golish because there's a candidate right there, that guy that just beat you, who's down in Tampa. But yeah, I mean, they're looking good though. I mean, they only play at number 3, followed by at number 5, home against number 7, and then at number 16 coming up.
Yeah,
in 4 straight weeks.
Yeah, and depending on if all those teams continue to win, like, those rankings could get a little higher.
Here's the thing. You really look at that schedule. I know a lot of people have talked about it, but they legit, the rest of their schedule, at number 3, at number 5, home versus number 7, at number 16, home against Mississippi State, who, shoot, they might end up ranked at some point. I mean, I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek, but not really. So that's the first unranked game, and that's 5 games away. Then back to it, home against number 6, Georgia. So that's 4 top 10 teams currently in their next 6 games. Then after Georgia, Kentucky on the road. Okay, Kentucky's off the radar entirely from the rest of this schedule. And they close with at 17, Ole Miss, home versus 15, Tennessee, home versus 10, FSU. That is freaking ridiculous, dude. It's absolutely insane schedule that they've got coming up. 4 top 10s in the next 5 weeks and 3 straight starting this weekend. Jeez Louise.
You could give Billy Napier the benefit of the doubt and say, like, hey, nobody's going to do well with the schedule. The problem is that Georgia's won 2 national titles recently. You've got like a huge rival that's right there that's not going anywhere. Tennessee's better than they were. Now LSU appears to be, better than they've been the last couple of years. Like, all these things are getting better. Miami, who's on your schedule this year, is better. You lost to USF. I don't see him making it past the bye week. I think he probably gets sacked in the bye week because that's kind of what you do now in college football. And if not for, I just said this in the top 5, if not for the Todd Golden thing that gave him some cover for a couple weeks last year and able to switch quarterbacks and go, he's probably gone last year because of the way he started. So he got lucky last year. Nothing's changed. I sent you guys the video. I don't know if you played it, but of people walking out of the swamp the other day, just loudly chanting "Fire Billy."
I was surprised that you would have sent that.
Well, I mean, I don't look. I'm not rooting for anyone's demise. I'm just telling you how it is.
Yeah.
Like, it is. He's kind of narrowly avoided it, and this last year, I don't think he can do it anymore. I think it's going to be, especially for Scott Strickland, it's important.
Was that the best part of your vacation?
No.
When we come back tomorrow at 3:00, I'm out. I have a high school game down in Austin. Garrett Ross, thank you. Brandon Rowe, thank you. And Andrew Valade, thank you. Hit the like button, subscribe if you can. Appreciate your time. And for Craig and Paul, I'm David Smoak, and our great sponsors, you the viewers. Good night on 365 Sports.